Hello and welcome to another Captain's Table podcast. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender at TheAstroPub, your professor on the Astro Historian, and your facilitator, your moderator here at the Captain's Table podcast. This is a Star Citizen podcast where I bring people from all over the Star Citizen community to talk about the game, news, lore, theory crafting, and more. Today we've got a interesting episode talking about the sales of Star Citizen and are they FOMO? Do they work? And are there possible alternatives to CIG's funding? With that being said, let's get started by introducing the cast here today. We've got Mr. Fist Two-Faced Fist. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And where can they find you?
Hey, how are you, everybody out there? I am Fist to Face, one half of New Soul. New Soul basically is a father and son duo who makes music based around Star Citizen.
And for those
getting into cinematics, as well.
For those of you who don't know, if you follow my complete history of the Star Citizen universe or the complete history of Star Citizen lore series, New Soul is the one who does all of the music for that. So if you've listened to that and enjoyed the music, go check them out. It's New Soul on YouTube, New Soul Star Citizen.
New Soul on YouTube. You can also find us. We did the sound effects for. Big shout out to Maiden Ariana for her. I hope I don't butcher the name. Please don't kill me. Star Citizen. I think that's what it's called. It's a game that she has on, and a couple of content creators have it on their streams as well, where you see the ship flying and by, and you can haul and stuff like that. We did all of the sound effects for that as well.
Awesome. And then we've got Mr. Griffin. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Hi, I'm Griffin Gaming RPG. Always happy and excited to be back with you and the other folks that are in this room that I know very well. I'm one of the producers of the Soul Citizens. We're a community content creation, a community content show for both Star Citizen and Squadron 42. We stream on Sundays and Thursdays, and again, just happy to be here sharing with you guys.
Awesome. I'm turning you up a little bit. People are saying you're a little quiet. But
I'm a little soft. Hang on. How about that? Better.
Ooh, yeah.
There we go.
One of my presets changed, so it.
Now he went down. Now
he went down.
Now he went down again.
It just changed on its own.
Yeah, he went up and down. Like, is there a
do you have a
gate or anything?
Oh, what is it called? There's a thing.
No. I'm using a Stream Deck, and I turned.
Yeah, you just muted.
It's down.
Okay, you know what? It's limiting. So something is ducking him.
Yeah, you're being ducked.
It's probably Discord.
It's either Discord or Discord has an automatic.
But it's not Discord. Oh, is that okay? Okay. Yes. Let me go.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll fix it.
That didn't sound like Discord.
I'll fix it.
Okay. Now you sound pretty good, but we'll walk through it. And then last but not least, we have Black Jurassic himself, the Neelix of Star Citizen, Mr. Fastcart. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
And greetings, everyone. I'm Fastcart FC, and I'm happy Black History Month. I just wanted to say welcome to our radio reenactment of Django Unchained. Griffin Gaming will perform the role of Django. I'll be performing the role of Kerry Washington's character. Victor Face will play Samuel L. Jackson's character, and Paul, of course, will be playing DiCaprio's character. I'm happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to reading the comments after we're done. Plus, I'm a producer for Soul Citizens.
Wait a minute, hold on for a second. Wait. Why am I playing Samuel L. Jackson?
I knew it.
Well, now
you got me hot. You got me hot. You got me hot now. I'm for real. I'm like,
yourself, Paul.
Every year, it's down again. By the way, Griffin. Check. This it could be Windows. It's either got what is it called? Attenuation. It could be.
It was fine until he switched something. Just until at the start of the show.
Yeah. That's better than my joke. But so the joke. I said it before the show. I'm not going to say it again.
Hey, I was proud of you too. I said I was proud of you. But you could see my expression on my face. I had something.
I'm still trying to. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to.
So this is there's a history here because Fastcart always bothered me. He's like, it's Black History Month. I want to come on for Black History Month and talk. And for years, I would remember that Fastcart wanted to come on. And the way I would schedule it is, it just so happens that Fastcart wouldn't come on until the first weekend of March. Literally the first weekend of March. And then he'd give me shit about it.
For like
4 years. Yeah, like it wasn't until last year that I remembered to do it and brought him on and was like, oh yeah, we should probably do that. Yeah.
Oh, we got Scott Raiders. Hey,
Yes.
welcome, Raiders.
Welcome from Space Beta Stream.
Yeah, welcome, Raiders.
Now we can hear you great.
Yeah,
you don't.
Okay.
I still got to police it though.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, and for all of you who are watching this after the fact, make sure you check us out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the Captain's Table podcast. We reached a fantastic milestone on the new YouTube channel. We now have 500 subscribers on that YouTube. The goal is to get 1,000. So for those of you who've been watching us there, thank you. If you haven't, should be in the description below right now of the actual live, should be that link. Once we reach 1,000, yes.
I'm sorry. But how many subscribers do you need before you get that YouTube plaque?
10,000 or 100,000? 100,000. 100,000.
100,000. Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
The
Sorry
reason
about
why
that.
you need 1,000 is, as I like to say, you need 1,000 subscribers before YouTube pretends you exist and actually promotes you to people. Because before they can put monetization on you, they basically just, it's a dice roll if they'll actually promote you at all. So we usually don't have any problem with like people watching. People enjoy watching this for a long time. So thank you for those of you who have done it. But when we do live streams in the future, it will be broadcasted live on that channel as well. But that'll be where the episodes go up. It'll also be where each individual section, the discussion sections and the After Dark sections go up as well. So please check that out if you haven't already done so. And for those of you check us out on Spotify. We have we will upload all these on Spotify, not just Spotify, but it goes up to Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I think it's even like Google Podcasts. All of the places sort of cross-listed on a bunch of different places. So check us out there as well if you get a chance to. Especially if you want to listen on the go and it's a little bit less bit heavy there. So yeah, thank you for that. So, and let's get into the discussion right now. Starting off with the main discussion, which is does Star Citizen participate in FOMO sales? And for those of you who don't know, and I'll define FOMO. In fact, I will pull up a official definition of FOMO.
Official? But it's in, what dictionary is it in?
That's what I'm trying to find out the dictionary for it.
I was expecting Urban Dictionary, but not like Merriam-Webster or anything.
I'm not seeing up there. It's interesting. So what I'm finding from different sources like Forbes and a couple other kind of random sites, but what they say specifically is it stands for fear of missing out and is a marketing technique that uses scarcity to encourage customers to make purchases. FOMO marketing can be used in many ways, including email marketing, social media, and on websites. And how does it work? It gives limited time offers to create a sense of urgency. It has countdown timers to see how much time there's left. Social proof, so to show how many people have viewed the product and currently paying it. Time-sensitive bonuses, offering freebies instead of discounts, and case studies. So the idea is to play on psychological desire to avoid missing out on something good and to motivate people to take action when they wouldn't otherwise. So the question is, does CIG participate in FOMO sales? Because that has been something that people will argue that CIG does regularly. Do they intentionally do artificial scarcity? Do they in an attempt to push sales more frequently? Fastcard, I'll start with you.
It feels like they do.
Okay.
It feels like they do. But over the years, when they first started, the history, obviously, they had to kickstart in 2012.
Mhm.
And then they have the holiday sales at the end of every year, particularly around CitizenCon. Most of the time in November, they call it the holiday sales back then. Well, too. Then they expanded the IAE, well, before they call it IAE, November sales, and then they had it in both November and December, as well as something for CitizenCon typically, or the month of October. Then they branched out, and fast forward to 2020 was the first year they had Invictus. That's when they really started making money. That's when the project really ballooned, crowdfunding really ballooned for them again. They, twice as much money in some cases. So yeah, I mean, it feels like every month they have a different sale. Like they have Alien Week, they have Invictus, they have the Valentine's Day one.
Cormore.
I almost had Corma, thank you. So every month, um, April, I can't think of what they have in April, but in March they have the Stella Fortuna. April, they typically have something for April, but I forget what it is.
Probably it would likely be something to do with like the like an event, because they also have sales listed to events with things like Siege of Orison and such like that. So
May, I can't think of what they have. July, I can't think of what they have. August they have GameCon, something
well,
around there.
May is Invictus,
May's Invictus, right.
and June
Um,
is June is Alien Week. July
no,
is
yeah, the beginning of
is
June, right, yeah.
Foundation Festival is July.
Founders, thank you.
You know,
Then October they have
yeah.
CitizenCon and Day of the Devourer.
November is IAE, and December is Luminalia.
Holiday.
Yeah.
Luminalia, you're right. So it feels like, I mean, it feels like they're adding more sales to the calendar every year, but I think they petered out. But as far as FOMO, yeah, it feels like it, but I'm on the fence. To me, I'm still leaning towards no, but just barely.
So you're saying like it technically might hit that definition, but in practice it doesn't necessarily work the same way?
Right. And
Okay.
I also want to say that Oxford, Cambridge, and Merriam all have the definition for FOMO.
Oh, they do. Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, they do.
that. So, Griffin, same question to you. Based off of what we know about FOMO, does CIG participate in FOMO sales?
I think people feel that they do. I think to Fast Car's point, I think feel it. I don't know what.
You're breaking up a little bit there.
Yeah, go to Fist.
Okay. Fist, your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts is I'm going to say yes. Okay.
Okay.
Because when you look at marketing, right, and I'm not a marketing person, but when you look at the practices of marketing lives off of FOMO. So when you have a limited supply of something and that's advertised, right? IAE comes around, Pioneers will go up for sale, Idrises go up for sale. They're limited, right? So people feel like, well, man, okay, if something is limited, then I need to be able to go in and, do whatever I need to do to get this item. So for me, I think that hits the mark as far as FOMO. Now, you don't need to sit there and actually say limited, sale, go. These things are going to go run out soon. You don't need to say that for it to be it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think when we look at the definition of it, yes, it is FOMO, because marketing does play on that.
Okay. Griffin, how's the audio? Oh, I can't hear you at all now. You're still muted. You might need to restart Discord, maybe? Or the computer? Yeah, because I'll go on mine. We could just hear you for the moment. What was that?
I'm going to restart.
Okay.
Okay.
But in my question, yeah, I'm still here.
Why don't we come back when you say answer the question? Come back because you're breaking up a little bit there too. as somebody who has participated in marketing, who's worked in the marketing industry, I struggle. I've heard that the problem about FOMO is that it gets thrown around a lot because as a bad marketing practice, and in my experience, it is. It doesn't really work very well. It can work for like fly-by-night companies or companies that really sort of focus on like immediate sales, so they can boost their reputation up higher. But it doesn't really function, in my experience, well as like a long-term sales gimmick. And the one thing that makes me a little bit more wary about calling it FOMO, calling what CIG does FOMO, is that it implies that there's no way of acquiring this. Like the CIG is constantly saying the only chance to get this, the only blah blah blah, that sort of thing. Where CIG doesn't actively seek to do that. There is tactics that people have been pointing out in chat already. It's like the limited hull series of like limited hulls of ships and stuff like that, which is true. But an example of a limited hull series of ships is the 890, and the 890 is also available in game. So it's one of those sort of like, yeah, they even limited hulls of ships, like limited versions of ships, but you can still purchase in game. And I still don't like that idea for some ships, especially limited ships, which don't make a lot of sense to be limited.
For me,
yeah.
For me, it's difficult to say it's FOMO because you can get everything in game.
Yes, that's my perspective, is that a lot of the stuff that you can just get in game. So it's like,
so that pulls it back from FOMO for me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I agree with what you're saying on FC and Paul. And I think FOMO gets a bad rap because it feels like it's a predatory practice.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, though, what I meant and what I'm saying is that, because you don't have, the infomercial style type of advertisement that CIG doesn't do that, obviously. But unfortunately, when I think about marketing, it is a byproduct that there is FOMO in something. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily mean that they are intentionally doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, where unfortunately there is FOMO in it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think what you're saying is that FOMO is there, but it's not like CIG is sitting there cackling behind the screen and be like, how can we manipulate the psychology of people to make as much money as possible?
I mean, marketing, yes, but not the rest of the rest of the developers.
So in general, like, there are things that they could improve, I think, in sales, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But the next question would be, is FOMO driving CIG's sales pitch? Is CIG using FOMO as their main goal to try to drive more sales in the short term? Are they using FOMO to make more money? Fist?
Ooh, I mean, okay. Let's that's a tough one. Are they using FOMO to say? I'm gonna say yes and no.
Okay.
Because again, we can get everything in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, that is their slogan. You can essentially earn to get everything that we are advertising on the store in the game. Obviously, it's just a matter of work. But so when I say yes, because I'm saying, man, okay, when we see the shiny thing as a kid,
Yeah.
right? When you saw the toy on the screen, that triggers something. So marketing studies this.
Yeah.
And that's why I say there is a byproduct. So I'm saying, like, okay, marketing, they study human nature. They study the psychology of people. So they're not just sitting back and saying, okay, let me just put this out there and see if it sells. No, they sit down and look at, okay, how does this color work? How does that look to people? They study all of that of human nature. So I believe yes and no. And I'm gonna keep it there. So I don't want to, talk too much, but go ahead.
Yeah. Fast road? Is FOMO
Face-to-face-
driving the sales? You know.
Okay, film driving the sales. Face-to-face made an interesting point. It said, as a kid, I mean, when I see something on the screen, it still happened for me. So and I'm in my 50s, so you don't have to be a kid for that stuff to happen.
Just gonna be a kid at heart.
But to your point,
Yeah.
to your point, it depends on the sale for me. Like for example, the FAC Lightning, yeah, it felt like the marketing was driving that one. But for a typical concept sale, it depends again. Like, okay, there was this one time, it was purely by accident. Not by accident, but he didn't mean it the way it came out. When the Odyssey went on sale, the developer said it was a carrot killer.
Yeah.
Now, he was excited for the ship.
Yeah.
He didn't, but you know, you gotta be careful how you say stuff, especially in the community, because we tend to think they literally, but they just meant for him, that developer, he considered the Odyssey to be a character killer. Now, whether that triggered it triggered want people to buy the Odyssey because it's gonna be better than a character. If you didn't do your research, you just listen to the hype, maybe. So I want to say it depends on the concept sale and what's going on at the time.
Okay. Griffin, how's your audio? I still can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear him. No.
It's like you're muted. You're not even coming through Discord when you're
You're not even coming through. I can't even tell if
your light's not even turning on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could it be your mic is messed up?
Ooh.
Maybe it's the connection.
And it was fine.
It was literally right. It's not a captain's table without something like this happens.
Touch one thing,
Yeah.
and it went away.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question, Paul, while Griff
Sure.
is doing that real quick? Okay. Fastcart made a point though, because he said, okay, and I forgot about this. War is business.
Yeah.
Right. So competition making right. So when you think about when that statement, I forget who you said that it was, Fastcart, about the Odyssey being a carrot killer, that creates fanboyism.
Yeah.
So from you and your experience of marketing, that does create FOMO.
It can.
It's a byproduct.
So-
It can, right? Okay.
One of the things that's important to understand about FOMO is that FOMO is often used as a catchphrase. It's a big sort of hot thing that people use, and typically when we're talking about FOMO, we're talking about things like the marketing emphasizes the one of a kind, unique aspect, never again, only this, and typically when you look at FOMO in terms of like how it functions with most businesses or people who like participate in FOMO, like using an old example, Supreme is a like king of FOMO, where they would like put something on their thing, they'd only have a limited quantity and sell it. But FOMO is used in all sales. All sales are FOMO. Everything is FOMO in that sense. It's got a conversation that brought up another thing. Lunch specials are FOMO. Why? Because they want people to come in to get a discount on the food that they might want.
Buy it at that price.
So they come in and buy that price.
My Chinese store does that.
Yeah. Costco does something very similar, where Costco has $1.50 hot dog and sodas. They lose money on that deal, but they get you through the door. They can get you through the door. They can sell you. And usually it's a discount, or sometimes it's a specific like free. You get something for free when you do something like that. So it's a sales. It's a technique that exists beyond just what we think of. So for me, I don't think CIG's marketing strategy is built off of FOMO in the sense that people think it is. Mostly because there's just not enough noise that CIG makes about the limited nature of stuff. And as Fastcart was pointing out, they have a freaking sale every month. So it's hard to say that you're missing out when you can just wait a month and it comes back.
Okay, but what about land claims though?
land claims, I think, was just a mistake on their part, and that's not to say that CIG doesn't.
Oh,
It's coming
okay.
back though. I think
Are they
it's
It is?
are they
Okay.
selling it
gonna
now?
come back.
Because I thought
No. I think no, they haven't sold it.
Yeah.
No, I think B Fast Card said I think it's going to come back someday. Not in I don't know when, but they make too much. They can make too much money off of it for them to
Yes.
not sell it again. Yeah.
That's why I told you, Fast Car. I said when you asked me the question about how much CIG was going to make this year, I said they would make 210 million
if they sold land again.
if they sold
Land
land.
claim.
Yeah.
If they sold land claims,
Yeah.
they would have made. Yeah.
And I think CIG is very aware of stuff like that these days, because not only did CIG doesn't exist in a bubble, there are other, they look at the industry as a whole, and there's plenty of video game companies. Actually, it's almost standard practice now for video game companies to participate in FOMO through special editions. So like special editions aren't just like a FOMO practice, but now they give you the streamer access. You buy it, you get a week or two free, or a week or two ahead of everybody else, so that you get you know,
Early head start.
early head starts and stuff like that. And go ahead.
So I sincerely hope I do not trigger anyone when I say this part, and if I do, it's not a purpose, and I apologize in advance. But a negative for CIG is when they nerf a ship and they start selling another ship to fill the role of what's been there. That to me, I think that could be classified as FOMO.
Yes, I also don't think CIG was intentionally doing those sorts of things. I think what happens,
like
it does, and perception is reality. It's something I've been
Right.
kind of saying for the last couple of months now, is that what CIG needs to understand is that perception is reality. It doesn't matter what CIG intends; it matters what people think is happening. So,
Well, you know what that's. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Paul.
So like, and someone's already brought up like Hanlon's razor, which is an important one to understand, which is never a tribute to malice, which can be attributed to incompetence. And I'm not saying CIG is incompetent. I'm just saying that CIG makes a lot of incompetent decisions at times.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I was going to say this. I played DC Universe for about 10 years. Now, for me, from what I can see about, because at the time when I was playing back when they were Sony Online, took a break, then they came back, they were Daybreak.
Yeah.
I know that I'm probably say 90% in my opinion, that they were practicing what they call flavor of the month.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's where that fits in, where you have a ship that technically is your feared ship in the game, your meta, whatever you want to call it, and then the new ship comes in. That then becomes that older ship now becomes, still usable, but the new shiny, because you want to push people to that. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. And I guess there's a question to say, well, is there I'm not saying a nefariousness to it, right? But is
there malice? Are they doing
it?
Yeah,
it's like, okay, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, for me, it's like I don't really say. I wouldn't say it's malice, but it is marketing. They want to sell ships. They want to make money and make more money. But is it bad or just capitalism?
I think. Well, that comes down to the question: is do you believe that marketing is making these changes, or do you believe the ship team is making these changes? And I don't believe that marketing is making these changes. I think ship team is making these changes, and the ship team could be making the changes because they want to sell more. But in my opinion, I think more the case is if we're looking at things like the Redeemer versus the Paladin, with that whole controversy, the Paladin isn't even out yet. So yeah, they nerfed the Redeemer, but the Paladin wasn't released. And the Corsair. But the Paladin wasn't released. Like, it would be one thing if like they did that and then they released the Paladin as like too flyable. Then even then it would be you could see it as like they're trying to balance the roles of each of these ships against each other, because there's going to be nerfs and there's going to be buffs throughout the entirety of the game, because that's how online games work. And balance is, I think, who said that? one of the developers, can't remember who it was, said that like balance is vibes based. Vibes based balance makes more sense than anything else because you can't go off of stats because you can have hard stats and make it make sense, but then the feeling doesn't feel the right, even though it is because of many different reasons.
Okay.
And so like there is going to be balance. Famously, Riot does this with their balancing, where Riot will have one or two heroes in League of Legends who are just face moppingly good. You mentioned DCS flavor of the month. There's something that's just absolutely amazing to use, and then a month later they change it.
Exactly. I mean, they would do that so much because where DC Universe would do, like, for example, one season or whatever it is,
Mhm.
like Ice Tank, Ice Powers would be your most damaging power in the game.
Mhm.
And everybody would flock to it. Everybody would go in there and buy, I forget what the coins were that they used. We would go buy station cash. That
Yeah.
was it. Station cash. We'd all go buy station cash, and it'll be $10 to change your power set. And basically they would make a little, do whatever it was in their coding, and now this power is this. And if there's a new power that came out, then now that power became the flavor, and it would basically just rotate. And I started to realize this after a while. I'm like, wait a second, this is this is predatory, because I'm
be.
like, I'm spending a lot of money, and I'm like, everybody, because in DC Universe, and I'm gonna say this, the culture is, it
Power.
was very it was very DPS. Like, everybody would go into a certain, like, a dungeon, and everybody wanted to show off how well they could DPS. It basically was excuse my, like, a penis size contest,
Yeah.
in that game. And and that's what it became. So when you have that type of an environment, then marketing plays off of that. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, that's what y'all want.
So,
So guess what? We'll make this power one day. And I was like, oh wow,
I
I
have a
see what's
question
going
for
on
Face to
here.
Face.
Yeah, go ahead.
How
Whatever.
long?
No.
Anyway,
No.
so I have a separate question. So, me personally, when I buy a ship, I buy it for the role. I don't buy it for the meta.
Yeah.
Because I do have an FA Lightning, but evidently the one of the new ships that came along after FA Lightning it's more DPS. But I like the FA Lightning because it's spray and pray. That's my game style. And other ships, I'm an industrialist and a marketeer. So although I didn't get the BMM 8 years ago or whatever, because it was going to be a capture. We didn't know it was going to be a capture back then. But so I buy ships for the role. But I know people who are into PvP or compact, they want to buy the ship for the meta. So maybe whether or not the game is FOMO can depend on what you want to do in the game and how you want to play the game.
Mm. So Fastcar says he just sprays and parries.
Well,
So you just shooting up the club and not hitting anything.
well, that's
Yeah,
the
something eventually.
that's the that's the other thing. That's the other question though, because this kind of leads into another question, and I'll start with you on this one, Fist. Do
Okay.
players respond? Are we seeing CIG specifically making ships for players to purchase? Like you said, that sort of DC Universe situation where you go buy this ship and you buy this ship and you're the best at you make you the best at the game no matter what. Do players respond to that? Are we seeing that trend where CIG releases a ship that's better than everything else, they get everyone to purchase it, and then once everyone's purchased it, they nerf it, and then they make another ship that's better than everybody else? Is that what people are moving towards, or is there another way that you see people purchasing ships?
I want to say this though. Human nature is, I'm going to say, I don't know what's obviously in everybody's mind or head, but human nature gravitates towards wanting to be the best, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But for me, and I hope people, and this is one of the things that I'm going to say this, that I hope people purchase a ship based upon what it is that they need in the game, what it is they're looking to play in the game, and to understand what the ship is directed at. You know what I'm saying? Because right now, all of the mechanics in the game are not there yet. We don't even have armor
Yeah.
yet. So we have no idea how long of a fight or how well the Ares is going to do. Because I remember when the Inferno came out, man, and
Now you're gonna
what you
trigger
call it?
me.
No, because
Ion.
I had one too.
Mhm.
Yeah,
No,
Ion
I
and
bought one.
Inferno.
Me and
Yeah.
Pops bought one. Me and my dad bought one. So I had one too. We both had one. And the thing is, though, yeah, I mean, it was what, a size 7 they said it was supposed to be on
Size
there
7.
for the
Yeah.
a size 7. Now, if an arrow gets in front of it, because I remember they were saying like arrows or little smaller ships get in front of it, they would get one shot, right?
Mhm.
Technically, I felt like, you know what? That was accurate. If an arrow gets in front of basically a big ass cannon, your ass is gone. That's what it should be.
Mhm.
So, but because technically an arrow should never be in front of an Ares ion or an Inferno. So I kind of felt like when they nerfed it, I was like, man. And this is where I'm going to kind of go off the topic a little bit, but this is where I kind of felt like, and I'm be short with it, that I felt like CIG, I hope y'all not listening to that to that crowd that's saying, you know, that vocal minority saying this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing is too overpowered. No, that thing is supposed to do what exactly we're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I kind of felt like, man, for them to take it away, now you kind of created a situation where it was like, oh man,
But was
it FOMO?
Do you believe the intention was that CIG made it super overpowered intentionally, just so they could sell it and then nerfed it?
Because, well, I don't think that they did that. See, for me, in my opinion, I don't think that they did that.
Mhm.
I just think that it became, unfortunately, a byproduct of
Doesn't
it.
matter.
Fast card?
Became the
You know what I'm
go-to
saying?
ship.
Like the because again, you got to go back to the psychology of it. Like, how does a person gonna feel when something is okay? When you give somebody something that's great, right? And technically, I felt like that's what it was supposed to be intended to do. Its name is what? A cap killer, or that's what people specified it as, right? Now, what does that really mean in terms of CIG? What do they say with a cap killer versus what my mind says what a cap killer says? Because my mind can say, hey, a cap killer means, hey, I'm coming in and hitting this Idris so hard that it makes it say, oh my God, you know. I was gonna go into an MC Hammer song, but anyway, I stopped. But
Hammer don't hurt him.
yeah. So, but that's what I kind of felt like. You know, do we know what CIG is saying as far as what something that's their category is, and how are we interpreting it? And I think that's a mixed message that where sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle between us and the communication with CIG.
Can someone remind me, was the CIG, was the Ares ship always concepted as being capital ship killers?
Yeah, that was its
Without-
main,
Yeah.
its main focus was always that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I can see like if something if you have a light fighter that flies in front of the an Ares and you get blown up, I can see that. But if you're flying an Ares and you're trying to chase down or fire upon a light fighter that not you know you have to turn and aim. I think the light fighters should be able to escape or avoid you. Unless you know they're they're a crappy pilot, or you are a good pilot. But you know, like I said, it's supposed to be a capital ship killer, and you know, back then when we first got it, we didn't really have that many capital ships that in game that we could prey upon. So I could see why they nerfed it. But over the years they nerfed it and then buffed it and nerfed it and buffed it. I think right now it's experiencing buff because that was in the last patch note. I don't know how good it is now. I I do have an Ion because it's one of my favorite ships. But I got it because of the role and the style of the ship. Like whether or not it's like been nerfed to hell, I probably would still keep it. But what was the original question, Paul?
The
Sorry.
question was, do you think CIG's using is actually using FOMO to drive their sales? Are they doing things like intentionally nerfing ships so that they can sell more of them, or intentionally buffing new ships so they can sell more of them and then nerfing them later?
And see, for me personally, it depends on the day that you ask me, or it depends on what's going on that specific week, or what's in the patch note that they change. Because I mean, the game isn't out yet. It's not 1.0. They're still balancing, and the game may never be balanced because this is an MMO. So they'll continually add new ships, and when they add new ships, they have to rebalance everything, or not everything, but particular things in order to fit that new ship in whatever role it has. So it feels like it's yes. Sometimes I have to admit, but whether it's intentional, who knows? I don't know.
It's tough.
I will always refer back to Hanlon's Razor. I don't think CIG is devious enough to know these things. This is the same company that said that they were going to release 4.0 in the summer. And everyone said, no, you're not. And then they didn't release it in the summer. It's like...
This is the same company who took a year to release 3.0?
Yeah, we're talking about... CIG can't both be a mastermind at everything and also be completely incompetent. That's not how that world works. I don't believe that CIG is using FOMO to drive sales because I think CIG is simply throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what works. And then when it works, they just stick to it. I don't think there's some grand master plan about psychological manipulation. I think they're like, well, I have no idea how to sell this. We have no idea. We've never done this. No one's ever done this. So we'll just do this sort of thing. And I think they've just accidentally into FOMO at times.
The one thing I will say, the new salvager, the Misfortune, the interior of it is nice and shiny, especially when compared to the Prospector, even though it's similar to the Prospector, but the new Fortune has amenities that the Prospector doesn't have. So is that FOMO, or is that just an improvement to the ship design because they had more experience that they got from the Prospector and applied it to the Fortune?
Yeah.
Ooh, you know what though? Because here's the thing. When you think about it, I think to what you're saying, maybe if I'm and hopefully I'm thinking about what you're saying about the new ship design between the Prospector, some of the new salvager
The Fortune and
Mist,
Prospector,
right?
yeah.
Fortune, right? So because I was thinking about it, like, well, when you look at the MISC one, the MISC has a bit of an advantage in it, I guess you can call it self-propagating its boxes, right? On the ship versus your Vulture, where technically I guess you could say the Vulture would be if you really wanted to have optimization in your ship when it pops out the box. I don't know the Vulture, does it propagate the boxes on its grid, or does it like just spits it out and it's there?
He's back.
He's back. No.
No, you're not.
I'm too scared to see if it's working. Are you hearing me now?
It's
Yes,
working.
we are.
Beautiful.
Yes.
All right. We'll ask you the questions there, Griff. So.
No, you got to go back to the beginning of the show.
That's why I'm going to go back to the very beginning of the show and ask him this. He's been listening to our conversations. So the first question is, do you think that CIG is participating in FOMO? Do you think?
There are times when I feel that marketing always has some element of making people desire and want something. That's just an automatic. That's the whole point of advertising, right? It's to convince you that this is something that you will make your life better or you need it, even if you don't, right? And so that basic premise of advertising is there. I think that people want to use FOMO, or they use the term FOMO because it's a way of trying to define that in a different way when it's innate in marketing. I'm not sure. I don't run commercials for something just for you to look at it and say, I don't need that. You run it because you want people to think, hey, is this something I need? I know you touched on this a little bit earlier. Part of this is the history of how this got started. In the very beginning, we didn't have other options. All you could do if you wanted something was basically you had to pay for it. There were no ship rentals. There was no in-game currency to use.
Mm.
If you saw a certain ship and you liked it, this is even before there was an Invictus and a free flies. If you wanted it, if you got on your friends or you had to buy it. And so I think in the beginning, if you saw something you liked, even without a commercials were great, but once you got on it, you said, I want this thing. But I also think that our purchasing is based upon the desire of wanting to see the game move forward and be accomplished. Even if we know that those features aren't in there, that purchasing is something that satisfies something inside of us that makes us feel like it's progressing. Even if we know that the features aren't in the ship. A lot of us remember back in the day when ships were hangar ready only. They weren't flight ready. Why were we buying ships that couldn't even leave the hangar? It was because it was what we believed in what was going to happen in the future. So does CIG use that to their advantage? I don't know if it's something that's maliciously done or just something that just comes with the whole process of trying to raise money. And I think it's our way of coping with it when we say FOMO. I think just with advertising in general, the whole purpose of advertising something is to get you to buy it. And that's basically what it comes down to. Saying FOMO just kind of makes it feel like maybe I'm not as responsible as I am. But I don't know. Maybe people don't feel that way. But I think there's an element of it that's there,
Okay. Do you think it's driving CIG's sales, though? Do you think is CIG using intentionally focusing on FOMO to sell more ships?
Well, in the earlier days, things were phrased. There were times when CIG would imply or even say that something wouldn't be available after it came out and was sold. There might have been a certain ship that came out and said, this is the only time you're going to get it. The F8 is an example of a little bit of confusion there in communication of, the F8 being provided after Squadron 42. But we just recently talked about maybe they are still sticking to that word, because when we saw the Squadron 42 video, we saw that there's a new version of the F8 that we don't have. And maybe that's the F8 that you're going to get, right? I mean, there's a whole lot of things that, have gotten in their communication either led us to believe or we've made ourselves believe that, we got to get this thing, But again, advertising, those commercials are so slick. I don't know how many times people said, I'm not spending any more money. And man, that slick commercial comes out and your wallet's twitching, man. It's ready to freaking jump. Credit cards are in your wallet doing this, because you're thinking about it. But their advertising is done very well, regardless of how people feel about it. I know people get into the whole ethical side of it, but that's it.
Yeah. Correct.
All right, let's move on to the alternatives, because some people think this is immoral, it's unethical. So if CIG were to change this entirely, what would the other options be to keep Star Citizen funded at the same rate it is, while also doing a different model? What would a model that would function for it? Fist, you said you before the show we were talking a little bit about it, and you said you had an idea. I'll go with Fist, then Griff, then Fastcart.
What model would it be?
Funding model. How would they do it if they
Funding
couldn't
model?
sell ships, that sort of stuff?
Sell land claims.
Sell land claims?
I'm being real. No, because
Real
you
estate.
think about it.
But how is that different from
Really,
ships?
when you think about
That's
it,
not a different model, though.
well, you're selling a different product in a sense. I mean, because if you're not selling ships, you got to sell something, right? So, it's a space game. It's in a digital realm,
Mhm.
right? The game, I would assume, if I'm looking at Star Citizen, and if, let's say, hypothetically, all of the systems on the back end works perfect, right? Stability, 100% top notch. The game has unlimited expansion. Space is what? Huge. How many planets can they make?
Mhm.
As many as they want to.
No,
So
100. They got to stop at 100.
they
That's
can
what
make
they
it as
said.
many as they want. So, I mean, if you think about how big, what's the biggest planet that we have in a game right now that we can, go on to, that we can actually walk onto? Moon
Probably
or whatever.
it's probably Hurston
That's Stanton.
or
It's either Terminus or
could be Terminus. Yeah.
Crusader. I don't know. They're
We got
big.
Okay, so something. Let me clarify my statement. One more question: what planet can we actually walk on?
Okay, so
That's the
okay.
biggest that we can walk
Microtech,
on.
Not
probably.
Crusader, yeah.
Either
Microtech.
maybe Terminus, one of the two. Yeah.
It's huge.
Mhm.
It's huge. I mean, an 8x8 land claim. I mean, that's nothing compared to that planet. So you got to probably figure if they have everything, like I said again, if all the back end and everything was great and working stability, they can create as many universes as they want to and as many planets as they want to. And that's why I say land claims would be the business model at that point after ships.
Yeah. Jen pointing something out that is something I've heard before. It's like Hurston is the size of the continental United States and India combined. So
Wow.
like that shows you kind of the size of it. So
That's huge.
yeah.
That's-
The moons themselves are the size of India.
Mm.
Like if you took the land mass of India and put it in and wrapped
Right.
it around a ball, it would be the size of the moons, typically. Yeah, Ariel's the size of France. The entire country of France. So
Well.
Griffin.
I'm not saying that they're wrong, but where do people get this information? I don't remember hearing that
Because
on
you can figure
IRC
out
or
the
anything.
you can measure the distances, and
Okay.
and then once you've measured the distances in a certain way, you can actually just add the full length and width, and then figure
Okay.
out the whole
Extrapolate.
the surface area. Extrapolate. It's been a couple of them because I think there is a way you can in the files as well figure out what the size of the map is. So, all right, Griffin. What's an alternative method that CIG could use from ship sales, or is this it? Is this the best option they have?
No, to your point, we've always been speculating on what will be the end result when it comes to it. Some people feel that CIG will always quote unquote sell ships.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the ideal model, this would be my suggestion for an ideal model. The ideal model will be that once we're at launch, like full 1.0 or whatever, that at that point, the only time they will always sell starter packages. That would be something that's always available, so people have an entry point into the game. The next level would be selling what we would consider as being concept sales. So when a concept sale comes out, it's available to people who want to buy it at that point. And the concept sale lasts for a certain period of time. And then once that ship goes into the game, it is only a purchase. You can only acquire it by gameplay. That's it. Because that would always create a little bit of hype. Because if it's concept sale, they kind of know that if I don't get it now, I've got to work for it later. It gives people that option because some people don't want to do the grinding, and they're willing. That would be a way of continuing to fund. But then there'll be other people who will say, I'll just work for it in game, and I know that's where I'm going to get it. After that, all the other little incidentals like the virtual items and cosmetics and things like that, to me, will be it. And of course, with the launch of Squadron 42, praying that it is reasonably successful, if not very successful, there's a tremendous amount of revenue that comes in that way too.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'm not down for is a subscription model. I know that CIG has talked about in the past. I've been through Eve and a lot of other games where I have done subscription models, but I think that they could generate the funding without having to go to a subscription model, personally. So.
Okay. Fast cut.
One thing they could do is 1.0 will be quote unquote free. You just got to get the game package in your end. Maybe for 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0, after the game launches, they could do expansion packs that may make some money, but I don't think it will make as much money. But I do have some alternatives that are not ideal. They could go the Star Atlas route and just convert everything to NFTs and make everything an asset and do that. Because I don't know how much money Star Atlas is rolling in these days, but they're selling ships for like $5 million, and people complain when CIG sells ships for $3,000. So that's one alternative. A second alternative, my last one, is they could go gacha, like mobile game. You
Yeah.
typically pull an Aurora, you typically pull a Mustang, but you have a small chance of pulling like a BMM or an 890 or even an Idris, and you got to get them all. And they would make Genshin Impact money if they did that.
Fast Card is just let the record say Fast Card is for gambling and would love to see gambling in Star Citizen. I tend to agree with Griffin. The problem with subscription model, and I know some people say, well, just pay a subscription model. There is quite literally no company out there that has a pure subscription model service. They don't exist anymore. The ones that do have subscription models as part of their services can be earned in game because they realized how limiting subscription models are. So there's lots of different ways that they could do this. I don't think CIG will ever get rid of ship sales because they work. But I do think that CIG will benefit if they do things like improve their customization options, so that will allow for people to be able to purchase more reasonable skins with colors and those sorts of things. Maybe buying color palettes so you can swap in colors in and out of patterns as part of the skins. Like there's a thing in Destiny, I can't remember. I think maybe not Destiny, where you can like infuse all, like you have like different armor sets, but you can like make it either look all the same, like it's part of the same armor set, or like put the same color on it, so that that allows you to look uniform and you can pay for it. I think the answer is all of the above. Optional subscription models, which they already have with some small perks. Selling single player games like Squadron 42, maybe even expansions down the line with things like alien races coming out for playable. We're talking like well past 1.0 at that point, but I don't see CIG removing from this because it's working. But this will be the last question I ask before we move into the question and answer session, because that's the actual title. Go ahead, Fast Fart.
I do have something just came to me. They could sell accelerators for when it's time to build ships in space stations, or accelerators for making a station, because we don't know how long that's going to take, but it should take a long time, maybe like a week or maybe a month, depending on what they're building. So they could sell accelerators. Oh my God!
I hate that. I hate that idea.
I don't like it either. No. Because then all you have is somebody who's a whale and just exactly. Now you see Fast Card. You just went right over to the bad side. I've seen that.
You're welcome.
I've seen that.
So I'll ask this. This is the final question. It's just sort of going to encapsulate everything we've talked about, because the main question is, do FOMO sales work in Star Citizen? And I'll start with you, Fast Card, in this one. Do FOMO sales? Do you believe that CIG's the FOMO sales that the CIG does? Because like one of the things I will also say before we do this is I think CIG's tactics could easily be improved, because I personally hate the fact that you could be really into the game and really enjoying yourself and have the money to buy a Polaris, and then CIG goes, nope, you have to wait 6 months for you to buy a Polaris. But then 6 months, my car breaks down. Kids get sick. I have a chance to go on a vacation. Whatever. Now suddenly, all that money is spent on other things that I have at the time that I need to use after that fact. But I had the money at the time that I could have used to purchase that. I may not have the time in November when it's holiday season for me to purchase a Polaris. For that sort of things. Yeah, a tooth explodes, as Jin points out. So I feel like they're actually leaving money on the table by doing FOMO practices like these sorts of limited sales and other things like that. I think they're actually hurting themselves as a result. They could be making more money if they made it more available rather than limiting it. But so, Fastcard, your thoughts?
So what was the first question before you went on to
so the question is, do you think that it actually works? Do you think CIG's FOMO sales work?
Okay, so and then you gave the example of the Polaris.
Yeah.
That's what you.
Or
that's
like
what that
you
ship
can
is.
think of things like the Idris, like the fact that Idris is only available at certain times.
Okay, got you.
Like the F8,
the limited hull.
the limited hold stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. They do work because they make a lot of money. I mean, if you go to IAE and track their progress,
Mm.
the evidence is there. They work. They make millions, almost $2 million in one day on one of those ship sales. And so yes, it obviously does work. Is it unfortunate? Depends on who you ask. To your point, if they were to make it sold all the time instead of just making them limited, I don't know. I think they would make more money if it's limited than making it available unlimited.
Okay.
And people say it's there now. You got to pick it up, or you may not get a chance later. So yeah, I think it does work.
Griffin.
I think if we go with Paul's model of sales being available all the time, you will be spending your vacation at a local mall and you'll have a bad toothache and a whole bunch of other stuff later on, but you'll have your ship, right? Yeah, I get it. I mean, the comment about, should they just have everything on sale all the time? It really be about the numbers. I really don't know whether they would be more profitable or, things would stay the same. It's very difficult for me to say. There are people who have the resources to buy things in the game. I don't know what the percentages of how many people buy things from FOMO, how many people buy based upon supporting the project. I don't know how many people buy based upon their long-term plan for a fleet. There's so many variables as to why people buy what they do in this game. So does FOMO work for Star Citizen? It does. But I don't think that they drive it. I don't think that the drive is there so much because of fear of missing out. I just think that there's a stimulation that takes place because it's the new kid on the block. Now, sometimes they say, well, there may be some things that drive FOMO in the sense of like when a ship is spec'd out a certain way. If a ship is OP, people perceive that ship as being better than another ship. I think those are the things that drive people way more into spending money. Because if they find a ship that's just another version of something, like for example, what's the one that just came out now, the Fortune.
The Fortune, yeah.
Right? I saw the Fortune. I thought it was a nice ship, but I've got a Vulture, and there's nothing about that ship that makes me say it's better or worse than the other. I know that there's one thing when one's got 2 arms on it and one's got a different way of capacity, but there wasn't anything there that made me feel like I need to go out and buy that ship. But sometimes there's stuff that comes out. When, for example, what was the Guardian that came out? Or no, not the Guardian. What was the one before that? The one with the big controversy with the Redeemer.
The Paladin.
The Paladin. Yeah. When they structure things like that, that's when I feel like it creates a FOMO feeling because people feel like, oh wow, this ship is a meta. Now, when they do stuff like that, that's when I think it's because CIG has told us that they're going to have ships that do the same thing, but from different manufacturers. And it's just maybe just an aesthetics reason. Maybe I'm a MISC person. If it's a MISC ship, I want to get it. Not because it's better or worse, but it's in the MISC fleet line. So different people have different reasons why they do it. But I think FOMO, again, I think it's just advertising. And I think we throw FOMO on some stuff that isn't always FOMO. But I think that there are times when there is some elements of missing out. But then again, you can always go in the game and get it and not spend any money. It's not like it was in the old days. So it's a weird thing for me being an old guy who's been around a long time.
I think that's another perspective is that like for people like you and me and probably for Fastcart and maybe even Fist, like we've been around for so long that a lot of times it's like, why would people be interested in the Paladin? It's not even out yet. Like just wait until it comes out, then buy it in game, but
people get up and on too soon. They don't even know because they may change their mind.
It might get nerfed between now and its even release, so
right. And to Griffin's point, maybe it's not that you like Mist, but you hate Drake. Mm-hmm. That's another reason. So yeah.
And I'm not a Drake fan. I would rather actually have that ship over the Drake, but I've got one. It's in my freaking Explorers pack, and it's like, well,
why
that's
change?
it.
And you can't CCU.
Yeah, that's it.
You can CCU. You can CC out of the
Yeah,
packs.
I could, but it's just not. It's just for what it serves in the game. There's not enough there for me to make I feel like I'm missing out. I don't feel like I'm missing out on something by not getting that ship. You know.
Yeah. Fist. What's an does CIG do FOMO sales work for Star Citizen?
Yeah, because it worked on me.
Okay.
It worked on me. I bought an Orion. I'm a solo singular man in the game. I bought an Orion. Think about that. I bought an Orion because I like that ship. That ship speaks to me. I call it Ugly Betty. She churns out money. In my opinion. And again, and guess what? It's not even in the game yet. It is so far down the line that I have built up an imagination about what this ship does that I said I got to have it. And guess what? I came, and I'll give this background too in a little bit. Okay. I came from being a person who thought Star Citizen
Was a scam.
was a, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I came from, I played a lot of Asian MMOs where they were like, Blade and Soul, right, pay to win.
Black
So
Desert.
I've seen it. I've seen it. You know, but until I learned, you know, what Star Citizen really is, then it made sense and clicked to me. But then when I got into it, I'm a part of that club that everybody says they're part of, but doesn't want to say they're part of. Starts with a C, you know, because you know how much money you got to spend to really to get into that club. So I look back at it and I'm like, damn, I spent a lot of money. You know what that could have did? You know how many hamburgers and sandwiches that is? Like
How many vacations? How many vacations?
Exactly. Do you realize how many? Exactly. Like me and my dad, we joke about this sometimes, but you know, it's money to burn. It is what it is. I have no whatever. I spent it. I have come to peace that you know what, I spent it. It is what it is, and I had to realize.
Let me ask you a question. Would you now, with what you know about the way the game and the structure is now, would you buy the Orion now, or would you wait, or would you say I'll buy it later?
You know what, Griff? I'm gonna be a fool and say, you know what, I still would buy it.
Okay.
Just because I like the ship.
Okay.
I would still buy the BMM. I would still buy it.
I still would buy it because I just like the way what it does and way it looks, and it just speaks to me. That's why I say it. Yeah, CIG didn't put on over top of this. Hey man, limited to the buy, but that's what it did. It triggered that, and that's why I say marketing has that byproduct of that. You know, so.
Hey Paul, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Do you think price increases are a form of FOMO?
Ooh.
Some of us remember when the BMM was $200.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Remember when the 600i or the 890 was $600?
I think it can be, but I also remember that CIG at the very beginning had always said that the prices are going to go up, that everything was cheapest early on, and that is definitely.
If you were around to hear that, though,
around
to hear that,
that's true. But I mean, to a degree, there comes to a point where you are responsible for your own actions, and research is one of those things that people should do before purchasing anything. People don't always do that, but you kind of need to, like, you know, you invest in something like, you know, you go get hyped up and you invest in a cryptocurrency, and then someone rug pulls you.
Right.
Is it the person who rug pulls you is definitely at fault, but if you did zero research into it, and that person had done multiple rug pulls, who's at fault? Like, are you not to blame partially for your own actions? So that at a certain point, it's like, you know, you still need to be informed about what the game is and that kind of stuff.
I agree.
But I agree that it can be, and it can be utilized as that, especially when CIG doesn't give heads up. And that's
right, so hold on, fast car. So hold on, fast car. I'm taking over the show. Paul, your prediction.
It's Black History Month. Go ahead.
Your prediction, Paul. Your prediction. what ship right now is definitely going to increase in value, probably in a substantial way, out of all the ships that are out there right now? If there's some ship that right now, if you get it now, you'll like the Carrack, for example, it jumped up. The Orion went up.
The answer is yes. All of them will.
No, I'm not talking about because of the general increase. I'm talking about some ship that because of design, scale, or role, it is going to jump.
All right. I don't have my cultist robes around anymore, but I'd put them on for this answer because it's the Endeavor.
I know the answer is
the Endeavor.
Yep.
Okay.
As a card carrying member of the cult of the Endeavor, I have seen that people are sleeping on the Endeavor massively because CIG.
Griffin,
go ahead.
You weren't even finished with the question, and I was typing Endeavor in my notes so I can remember it. So yeah.
It's the joke that the Inforunners likes to say that it's the ship that keeps John Crew and the ship team up thinking late at night how the hell they're going to do this, because they created a fun little idea of a ship and then they've now realized that holy shit, this is the game. This ship is the game. The Endeavor is Star Citizen the ship. And so it's like, how are we going to build a ship that's designed to do everything of the game at once?
Okay, so it's my turn to take over.
Go ahead.
Paul, how much you think the Endeavor price will be?
$900.
Actually, 900.
900 base.
I'm thinking 950, 975.
I think it's 900 base, and I also don't think that the expansions will, like the stuff that goes on to them, I don't think they're going to go up in price. I think they're just going to increase the base price to 900.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking 950, 975.
Because the current like do it all price, like if you get everything, it's like $800, $900.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, because right now it's about the same price as a Starfarer. I want to say it's like $300.
$250. No, it's $10 more than the Starfarer Gemini.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And yes, you can buy the Retaliator modules in game. So. But yeah, so that's a good example. But there's lots of ships like that. But the question I've always had, like the question back, is the Endeavor's price increase an example of FOMO, or is it an example of CIG going, "Oh God, what have we done?"
At this point, I don't think you could say the Endeavor is FOMO because it's just an old ship and it's been at the same price for years now. I don't think that qualifies as FOMO for that specific example. But I will say, to Griffin's point, game starter packages are $45. But, CIG has said that, they used to be $20 back in the day, but now they're $45. And now we anticipate them being $60 or $70 when the game actually is released. So is that FOMO?
Yeah. And what Cupan's saying is like what you're saying, what you're saying, Paul, is buy an Endeavor now. I am, but that's also FOMO.
Yes.
That's the thing. If you get a $15 upgrade or a $10 upgrade to an Endeavor from another ship, is it a good value? 100%, I believe it's going to be a good value. But did CIG intentionally going, yes, we're going to get $10 from every citizen to do this and wait for it, or like?
Well, I mean, it's not just $10 because the $10 for the TCU now,
and then you have to pay the $250.
You have to pay to get up to the Gemini later.
But wouldn't that also be bad for CIG because now they're making less money because now they're only allowing you to only make $250, not the $900 when it comes out? Go ahead, Fist. Sorry.
I got a question for everybody.
Take over. Okay.
Talked about, yeah, right. So if like we talked about the business model, if CIG continues to still sell ships and you can still buy the ships in game, what if CIG makes these ships so astronomically expensive in game that you would have to go and buy them? How do you feel about that?
I don't think they'll do that. They're not going to do that.
I don't think they will.
It would kill the game.
I think.
And astronomically expensive is what do you consider astronomically expensive? Because Chris gave a good example back in the day of what the scale and pricings of ships would be, and he kind of used the analogy of like real world naval ships and talked about how they get into the billions of dollars. And I know sometimes we try to encourage people not to look at the quote unquote economy we have now in any way as being the final economy in this game. So it's hard to say what the ship prices are going to be later on. You know, people screamed about the increases that they just did recently. Those ships are going to go up much higher than that.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
they want some longevity of play. They don't want you playing a week and you're able to get a freaking, Polaris,
Of
um,
course.
they,
Right.
but they also don't want it to make it where the grind is so bad, right? That you just get disenchanted. Some
That's
ships
where
are org ships. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny. They for them to make it so that you can grind for a Kraken as a solo person, unless you want to torture yourself that way, you're that type of masochist, then that's fine. But that ship is not designed for that. I mean, to me, it should be
right.
a price that if you want to do it, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to say some friends get together and combine, that's more reasonable. But if you want to tell me, oh, we should be able to grind for a Kraken in a week, man, nah, forget that. No, it
Mhm.
shouldn't
Back
happen.
in the days of 10 for the Chairman, I tried looking for the video because I doing some research for Soul Citizen Show and I couldn't find it, so I don't know the exact episode or exact date. But Chris Roberts said he expects a new player starting from zero to earn a constellation in 2 weeks if they play just a typical amount of game time per day. So that's what he said back then.
And I
Who knows
believe
what
he didn't
it's like this
define
year.
he didn't define it, but the way I've always interpreted that is 4 hours a day, 7
Right.
days a week.
He didn't say that, right?
But he didn't say that. So if you're saying 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's I can't math
Yeah,
in my
but
head
doing
right now.
what
28,
though?
28
Yeah, 28. So that would be 40
times 2,
Yeah,
50. Yeah, 50. Yeah, 6.
56. So 56. It'd be 56 hours of gameplay. And let's be honest, how many games are 56 hours?
Yeah.
Like that's a
Yeah.
lot of gameplay time. Like that's a
is.
solid gameplay time
one focused thing.
for like an
Mhm.
RPG. It's 58
Mhm.
hours. So,
Mhm.
you know, for an MMO player, that's like Tuesday. But
Yeah.
You
ain't
A
lying.
gold farmer. That's a typical Monday for a gold farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's maybe a little more pricey or a little bit more time than it takes for your typical WoW player to complete the entirety of a new WoW expansion. So
Pretty much.
Okay.
all right. I think we have a good kind of grasp on this. Like I've my personal sort of take on this is I think that the CIG's practices of FOMO are actually hurting them more than helping them. And I think that if they diversified some of these, I don't think all of these are FOMO. I think CIG is far too concerned about being seen as participating in FOMO and in pay to win practices to actually go full bore. Because if it went full bore, they'd make more money. But I also think if they decided to pull it all out, they'd make more money too. I think they're in the situation that a lot of humans are, which is it works. This is working. Why are we going to change what's working? Because if we change what's working, it might not work, and then we'll lose money. Let's not change what's working. Let's focus on what makes sense. So.
Okay.
All right, so I just want to say, it feels like we're about to go in a mission for our radio
Yes.
reenactment of Jago Unchained, so people stay tuned.
Well, I was gonna say you did have my my curiosity, but now you have my attention, Fastcard. With that, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Make sure you check out Soul Citizens on YouTube and Twitch. Make sure you check out Fastcart anywhere else in the Star Citizen community because he just is there, as well as Soul Citizens. And check out New Soul on YouTube and what was the other Twitch?
He's on Twitch too.
Twitch. Yep.
Yeah.
On Twitch. Yeah.
New Soul
I
Town.
stream every now and again. Like you might catch me doing a little bit of a Star Citizen or something. Recently did a 4-hour DJ set for New Year's Eve. So, not really on there as much, but you might catch me every now and again.
Awesome.
On there doing basically that.
And of course, if you enjoyed this, make sure you join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. And for now, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live, where you can come join us live at 4 p.m. Pacific, or 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, where we you come in and ask your own questions for the question and answer session, the After Dark section that we're going to have a little bit
Oh,
later.
my.
Yeah. But until then, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you're watching this after the fact, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. And if you're on Spotify, make sure you follow the podcast. And like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black. And we're back for the After Dark section of the Captain's Table. This is a question and answer session. Yes. I forgot who made that suggestion. It was a couple episodes ago. They made the session. I'm like, that's a good name. It's a good. The marketer in me is like, someone's going to click on it saying, ooh, what's After Dark? This sounds spicy. And to be fair, we get kind of spicy sometimes. This is where we take questions from the chat. If you're in chat and you want to ask a question, just make sure you use bracket question and then ask your question. And then that way the bot will pick it up. I just need to, I forgot to start the bot. The bot is actually activated, but I forgot to collect it. The question bot here, /start. Boop. And then it should pick up a bunch of ones that were already in chat. It didn't seem to do this. Interesting. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, some people were asking questions already.
Yes, and it's actually pulled up some of them. So if you didn't get your question asked, please do answered. Please do put it in again. There's a couple of them here. So the first question that I have listed is from Call Me Teach, who asks, why do you think CIG digs in so hard about their marketing campaigns and showing the game in a better light than we've ever experienced in game? Love me a good cinematic, but I'd rather play. I'm going to say
that again, I'm sorry.
So the question, if you want to also, for those of you who are here, if you're on the Star Citizen Content Creator Discord that I have, there's actually a section that says question bot. You can actually read it there. But basically he's asking, why do you think CIG goes so hard on their marketing campaigns with cinematics when it's not the actual reality of Star Citizen?
Ooh, they gotten better. Well, who's going first?
Well, I'll start from a marketing perspective. You don't, if you're going to be paying money for marketing, you want to elicit a understanding of what the game should feel like, what you're trying to create the game is feeling like. Let me give you an example. There's a famous old ad for Gears of War, which got everyone to start playing I forgot that Mad World. The song Mad World. It was a song that I think was made for Donnie Darko. I don't remember if it was the movie Donnie Darko, but it's this super gloomy and like atmospheric where you have the song Bad World playing in the background with Marcus Phoenix running around, and it's all dark, and it was pretty famous at the time. Actually got a lot of attention to it. Gears of War is not a moody, like depressing game. It is a game where you chainsaw people with in the face with a gun. Like Halo 3 famously had an entire marketing campaign where the people who were running their marketing campaign didn't know the story of Halo 3, but they did it so it set it up as a way of like a museum of what happened after the fact with people who were like nothing to do with Halo 3, but it caught the attention. I think it's an old Tears for Fears remix. Okay, there we go. So like the reality is marketing is not trying to give a 100% accurate representation of the game. They're trying to elicit the feeling of what the game should be, what they're hoping for the game to be for you.
Right.
And World of Warcraft's cinematics are famously like more energetic. Elite Dangerous. Look at the original launch trailer for Elite Dangerous. That thing was high octane, action packed. It was guns blazing. It was ships flying around. It was, like epic music. That has not at all what Elite Dangerous was, especially at that time. But it was better. But it was kind of trying to achieve the attention and try to like present what the game was supposed to be. So when I hear people say, "Well, this isn't a representation of the game," and it's like it is, but also, if CIG is paying for ads, they're going to do so in a way that makes the game look like what they want it to be. You don't advertise by saying this game is buggy as hell. Please don't play it.
Right.
And the problem that leads to the question is then why is CIG paying for ads? Because they need to gather data. As a marketing researcher, that was my focus. The idea of trying to figure out who your demographic is for the game, who's going to click on what, how do people react to certain types of ads, are very important to then use for, I don't know, a major activation project that you've been working for 12 years on, that has spent most of your money and time on, like Squadron 42. That's the reason why, at least in my experience and from what I've heard, why there are marketing is that it works, but they're also using it to gather data to be able to use that data and then feed it back into their marketing campaign for Squadron. So Data says he doesn't want to be gathered. Well, it's too bad. Go ahead, Fastcard.
Yeah, Paul. Imagine how many players they would get into the game if they, instead of saying playable now, it says testable now.
I do think that
they wouldn't get that many.
I do think that if CIG had puts up a disclaimer, a small disclaimer that runs before every ad, before
fine print.
Run, that's fine print that says representation of gameplay, representation of hopefully the game's currently in development. Things may change. Miles may vary. Just a quick little like primer, just not the final product. Let's just understand this is sort of a representation of what we want to do. And boom,
to your point, they've gotten better with regard to inspiration and imagination or imagined videos versus what's currently in the game for that pack. Because like the Cargo Empire one, I think that's one of the first or few instances when I say this is mostly what everything that's in the game. There's not much inspiration or imagination in that video. But before that, they even had a video called Imagine. Everyone remembers the popular video from back in the day, where this was what the Star Citizen inspires to be. So I think they've gotten better with that.
Griffin, what do you think? Do you think why do you think they focus so hard on the advertisements if it's not a direct representation of what the game is?
Yeah. There's been the whole transition from, what was in the earlier days, the marketing was directed toward us backers. At least the bulk of the emphasis was there. And I think when it really started to mess with folks a little bit is when we started seeing it pop on YouTube as a commercial. And we've had plenty of conversations about playable now versus, join in and test the game. Some other word, because playable now, if you don't know the background of this game and the background of the development, that means that I can come in and play the game. And that can be problematic. We've always felt that was problematic. At the same time, they do need the analytics. They need the information. They need people to come in and start exposing it. And there are a lot of people over there that sometimes maybe seem like they're not smart, but there are people over there who are smart when it comes to marketing. So to your point, Paul, I was thinking the same thing when you said this earlier. Well, if we don't show them a playable game, what type of game do you want them to show? Are we talking about showing a trailer with bugs in it? I mean, that's it. So I know people feel like it's really over the top because some of the videos, they'll put out something. And I mean, years ago, what was that video? It was one of the videos. It was the FPS one with Star Marine. And there was a lot of stuff we couldn't do in there at that moment. Remember?
Shield.
Yeah, the first time we saw Star Marine with the Redeemer, remember that? Yeah. And the personal shields and stuff and everything, And I remember people saying, "Where are the personal shields?" There, so well, they're coming. Maybe they'll come later. Blah blah blah. But some people thought that was in the game already, and so I can see how there would be people who feel a bit disappointed or feel like CIG's kind of, pulling the wool over folks' eyes. If you've been around and you're educated enough about the project, you know that most of this stuff is always about what's to come versus what is. So it's a tightrope, and this is where I think when people get into the question about ethical marketing, if there is such a thing, is ethical marketing, but that becomes one of the points for that.
Fist, your thoughts? Why does CIG go so hard on these trailers, even if it's not a direct representation of the game?
I think, though, to me, again, you make a good point about numbers, data. I'll kind of refer I have to change my stance on the way I felt about 318, because during 318 when they were advertising, and I was like, man, this advertising is so great, but 318 is so we probably wouldn't have a 318 if they didn't have all of that marketing and we've had that influx of people to come in and pound the game. So therefore, I think, to me, the marketing is doing what it's intended to do for them to be able to get the numbers back, because technically that's what they really want to get. Excuse me. It's sort of way that they can have um I got to use this word. So fast car is going to go ahead. The pounding of the servers.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have that, so you need to have numbers. And how do you bring numbers in? Well, you got to put the new shiny in front of somebody and say, "Hey, look, come on in." You know. So I think that's, to me, they got to do it. That's the only way that they're going to get that.
Yeah. I think there is to me there is also a limit. I think one of the things that CIG, and I think they've learned from this, from 318 specifically, is if you're unsure about the launch of your patch, don't advertise it right away.
Right.
You can delay it a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
exactly.
what you want anyways, because you know you're going to get an influx of players coming in to help hit
Yep.
those servers on and early on.
Yep.
Wait a couple weeks. Wait till things.
Yep.
Drop a couple hot fixes. Drop a patch or two or something like that, and then advertise it.
Yep.
So, I think
Yep.
that's the compromise that I could see, because I think no one talks about the trailers. I have not seen a single person complain about the fight for Pyro trailer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you've seen it, it's great trailer. Introduces you to all of the different factions, and then ends up with, choose the fight for Pyro. It's the idea is it's trying to tell you there's an event going on where these different factions are fighting each other. I wouldn't be surprised if CIG is paying ads to have those put that specific trailer put out a bunch of different people to watch it, because it's like, there's an event going on, come fight for Pyro sort of thing. And I think the reason why you don't see that is because there's not like been weeks of people being unable to play the game, or the fight for Pyro is completely busted and doesn't work for anybody, or you only see these comments when something bad happens in the game. But when when a patch releases smoothly, which they do sometimes, I know for those of you who are newer, that may sound weird, but they do release sometimes pretty smoothly. But like, we don't see that. So I think it's a matter of the squeaky wheel gets the grease. People complain about it because it exists, because they pay attention to it more because of how their own experiences differ. So, all right. Next question comes from. Where are you there? Next question comes from Malakina, who asks, what about the most recent example of limited sales, the Pioneer? It's been sold for ages, unlimited, and now it's limited. There's no gameplay reason to limit it at this point, but there's a sales reason, to intensify FOMO, to make sure that the most expensive ships sell to them meaningful numbers. It is nothing about limiting the ship, because they want to see how many in game, because of how many they want to see in game is, as they once said, XD. That's like an example of attributing malice rather than like, because Malakina, do you know this? Do you have some secret source that tells you that this is what CIG is trying to do, or are you extrapolating what you think based off what you see?
Yeah, I didn't remember the Pioneer being
non-hull limited.
Yeah, it was this past IE. Yeah, but before that, is that true, or am I misremembering? Was it
I don't know.
Limited?
There are some things that could be introduced in considerations as to why there's a hull limitation as well. One of them is the further design development of what they want the end game to be in this game. At the time when Pioneer came out, the only ship we thought about that was going to be doing building was the Pioneer. That was it. There were no other options. Now we've got multiple other ships that they're looking at that are going to be doing building as well. And so the Pioneer becomes the capital of all those ships. I don't know that it's about driving FOMO. It could be. I'm not saying it's not, but I also see how that this dynamic of multiple ways of creating and building in the game and manufacturing in the game, and we still don't know what all the manufacturing elements are going to be, might be another reason too. And maybe they're doing it to limit it because there's only so many of them getting. I could buy it, but there's always still that option of you don't have to buy it now. It's not even in the game, So buying it now, what's the benefit? I mean, other than maybe if you're going to save some bucks because it's going to increase, but it's difficult for me to believe that it's completely based upon FOMO on that.
I just have a story. Oh, go ahead.
So the question is basically like the Pioneer has been sold for ages and limited. Now it's limited. Is this? There's no gameplay reason for it. Is this just for make money?
Wait, I'm trying to. Okay, say that one more time. I'm trying to understand the question.
So the question, I'll read the full thing. What about the most recent example of limited sales, the Pioneer? It's been sold for ages, unlimited, and is now limited. There's no gameplay reason for it limited at this point, but there is a sales reason. They intensify FOMO to make sure that the most expensive ships sell into them meaningful numbers. It is nothing about limiting the ship because they want to see it that many in game, as they once said.
Right, I get that. I don't. I mean, what I'm trying to really figure out what is their question and refer to, like, is it because is it creating FOMO, or I'm trying to make sure I understand.
I think he's trying to focus on like to try to say that the Pioneer is a FOMO sale. Is that a FOMO sale?
Yeah, I think. I mean, again, something's limited. Yes, I don't think it's intentionally to say that it's again like it's FOMO, but I mean, I have to say yes, it is FOMO because something that's limited creates FOMO.
Okay.
I mean,
All right, fast card.
I have a bit of additional information for the Pioneer sale.
Okay.
Because all that week, I was paying attention to how fast ships sold in wave one, depending on if it was limited for that day. Typically, the wave one ship sells out instantaneously or within 30 seconds. Let me see if I can. No, I can't look it up, but I'm trying to go back my memory. The Pioneer, the Warbond, and the RSI Credit Pioneer sold out relatively quick, and I think it was in 4 minutes. I want to say for wave one. So then I went away and did other stuff and came back, and the Pioneer was back on sale, but it was still hull limited, and it stayed on sale after those 4 minutes for another 90 minutes or 2 hours. I'm like, what's going on here? Typically, a ship was sold out and they sold out, or sold out in 30 seconds and wait till wave two. But no, that wave one, I don't know what happened. Maybe they said, okay, the demand is so high that we should add more hulls to the limited sales. I don't know what happened, but that's what I saw. It sold out in 4 minutes. It said sold out, and then later on it came back and more were available. So I don't know. Take that for what you want. That's editorial. But that's what I saw. So yeah, I do have to say it is FOMO.
I am hearing also conflicting reports because there's some people in chat are saying it was always hull limited. I remember I remember it being limited.
I remember it being unlimited for a while. Then limited.
I remember it being limited and unlimited because I think if you remember correctly, the original Pioneer came with land claims.
Right.
And I believe it was limited through the land claims. Like if you wanted to purchase it was limited. And then when they brought it back, it had land claims. But then they started removing the land claims, and then they made it unlimited after they removed the land claims, I want to say. But it's been back and forth. I don't know this, so I couldn't tell you if it is or not. I think the honest to God answer is what Griffin was saying, is that I don't think CIG was making it a FOMO sale specifically to make more money. I think what the CIG was doing was making it a limited sale because it was now the one of a many different tiers of
It became the meta.
yeah, and they like the same reasons why they want to do the Idris limited and all of the other ones is they wanted to try to reduce the numbers that are just available. Could that be true or not? I don't know. Obviously, Malakiri doesn't believe that. He believes that CIG is just sitting there going, yes, yes. Chris Roberts is rubbing the $100 bills on his face, be like, yes, more pioneers.
No, stroking the cat. Stroking the cat.
Yeah, just swimming in his money bags or whatever. But I think it's
Millions.
I think it's a lot more of a CIG's like. That's CIG's argument. Whether it makes sense or not, I don't know. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think limiting, because especially when it comes to things like the Idris, which like how can you limit the number of Idrises when they've sold like thousands of Idrises every year for the last 6 years? Like there's gotta be like thousands of Idrises out there. So at this point, it's like you're not limiting the
Tens of thousands.
Is it really?
Yeah.
But is it really limited though?
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to figure out.
It
is
is,
it really
but
limited?
it's a lot. It's limited, but it's a lot. There's a lot of those difficult going. You know,
Right. That's
in
what I'm
people's
saying. I'm
hangers.
like, I'm just trying to figure it out. Cause like, wow. You know.
Is it necessary to attribute cartoonish evil to mundane corporate evil? Yeah, because I'm an entertainer and I'm going to put it out there. Because it often feels like people are trying to attribute this sort of like this malice towards CIG's decisions, when it's like, as you're saying, it's mundane corporate practices. I think it's a stupid corporate practice, but I don't think that like it's not some sort of malicious intent to like ruin people's lives. It's just CIG is seeing what they can sell it at and how they can make it work. You know. All right, next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, do you feel CIG would be more successful using different avenue of FOMO, such as paints, components, FPS armor, etc.? More successful than they are now? Yeah. But
Would you think so?
And it's coming. And it's coming.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
many people would buy custom armor set with a
Yeah.
custom logo on it of their organization?
Yep.
Okay, so maybe I'm misunderstanding. When they define, how do they define more successful? Make more money?
Yeah, probably more. I think Northern's saying
Yeah.
more money. Yeah, because FOMO is
I don't see them making millions like they,
Okay.
in the first day selling this stuff, as opposed to like the Idris or the Polaris, and not the Polaris.
Or how about if CIG
Pioneer.
sells like a limited number of solid gold plated armor sets?
Yeah. Well, think of it like this though, Fast Card. And okay, I remember Robert said something. He said, when you think about it like this, right? If how long does it take for a developer to make a custom armor versus a ship, right?
It's
It
quick.
probably takes somebody. It's quick. So the return on investment, on an armor set versus a ship is way bigger than what you would get, because I mean, how many people are
No,
gonna buy?
but that's a different form of measurement, though, because like you said, if you want to measure directly from the crowdfunding page, then I don't think they'll make much money. If you were doing it your way, yeah, probably. It depends on how you measure it. That's what I'm saying. You're muted.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was clacking. I think it's a good question because like if you have a classic sort of FOMO situation where like you only have a limited number and it's like, this is the only time you have it, I think you could, and CIG sort of already has. You look at like Best in Show. Best in Show, you have to have the ship in order to get the skins.
Yeah, that's
That's that sort of thing. But is that necessarily a bad thing? I have CDF armor from the one time they gave CDF because he did specific the Xenothreat thing. You want people to play your game, so giving them a reward for playing your game, so that's only playable, earnable once, is that bad? That's FOMO. Play this game. If you're not here to play the game, you're not going to do it. But don't they want people to play the game?
I mean, I think we've established that not all forms of FOMO is bad.
Yeah, but I mean that's the kind of the,
but people attribute it to being bad.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm more than ashes of creation for that. So.
All right. Next question comes from Escape, who asks, "Don't you think rockets would be great on the fuel? Great for the fuel targeting missions in SSP2? Oh, Save Stanton Part 2." So Escape has been all up on a rocket strike, on getting a Talon strike, but replacing the missiles with just dumb fire rockets. So, yes. Serious Fun asks, can you imagine an entirely different way for CIG to recruit resources that isn't the traditional publishing model and isn't the current model they use? What would produce the resources required to deliver a quadruple A set of experiences?
You should have added the trademark to quadruple A, Serious Fun, because you started that. So, we sort of put TM next to that whenever you use that. Can you imagine a different way? No, I can't.
I don't know.
Say, no, I can't.
I'm not smart enough to know like ways of doing it. If I did, I would already be doing it. That's a question I don't think any of us are qualified to answer necessarily.
No, yeah.
I mean, previous show we came up with alternative, but most of those alternatives are stuff that other games have done or are doing.
Yeah. Cyberwolf. Okay, Cyberwolf is running for something else. Says so. The question is, why does the marketing team do their jobs? David Stockton asks, question: have you heard anything about the Hull B being worked on? No. There's no references of the Hull B as far as we know. Have any of y'all seen anything?
No. Wishful thinking, though.
Yeah.
I was expecting it. After they did the A and the C, I kind of figured maybe that might have been something that would have popped up, but alas,
I mean,
no.
I can't wait for the whole D for obvious reasons.
Oh boy.
All right. Northern Trooper asks, outside of Star Citizen, what was the biggest FOMO purchase you had, and how did it pan out for you?
Ooh. Dang, got to think about that one.
Star Citizen?
Outside of Star Citizen.
Right. Ooh, wait, I got one for you.
Go for it.
Oh, I got one for you too. Go ahead.
Okay. Getting into audio.
Ooh.
Guess what I purchased?
HD.
I purchased the Avid HD native card and the Avid HD native system back in the day. Right?
Okay.
Guess where that thing is now?
In the garbage?
Collecting dust.
Gone. Out of my house. And at Vintage King, maybe somewhere, somebody else is using it. That thing is so antiquated right now because computers have become so powerful that you don't need that DSP or that system. So when I got into music and audio, everything was so much like, man, you got to get into this, you got to get into that, and you don't realize you have to look at where all of the other markets, influence how technology is going to push you into something, and realizing at that time, man, I needed this, but not seeing what was coming up. Like, wait a minute, computers are getting better, better, and better. So you don't really need this. And that I would have to say really was a big FOMO purchase for me, as well as the they called it Digi Design 003.
Hmm.
That is another one. Gone. Out of my house. Somewhere somebody's enjoying it. If
Um, I think it's the camera I have right now is probably my biggest one
Mm.
because this camera is a Sony I forgot the model it is, but it's a model that other streamers used when I first purchased it, and it was the slightly cheaper model, but it was one of those slightly cheaper models that was not being produced anymore. So it was I either purchase it now with the money I have, which I had the money at the time to purchase it, or I have to pay for the newer one, which is more expensive. And I was like, I gotta do that. And so I got this. And how did it turn out? Turned out well. Turned out great. Once I figured out how to use it, I did have to purchase other things like a capture card to come with it. But like now that I have all this infrastructure, if I get another camera like this in the future, if this one breaks or if I need a new one, I can get one and with a bunch of other stuff that I already have equipped, including like a battery pack that works for it. So, Griff?
Oh, I can give you a real easy one. How about it's called a timeshare?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How
Dang.
about that? I'll make it real easy.
Oh,
Any of you who've
oh.
ever sat in a timeshare speech where there's trying to sell you something, there you go.
Yeah.
Timeshare.
Fast cart?
Ouch.
I have a
That
couple.
hurt.
2011, before the Kickstarter for Star Citizen, there's a little game called Spore Tour.
Oh
Star
yeah.
Wars: The Old Republic.
Mhm.
Star Wars: The Old Republic sold what's called a collector's edition. It was $150. It came with in-game items for every character that you create, an authentication key, and the big main feature was a statue of Darth Malgus, one of the main protagonists from the game. I bought that thinking, hey, this will be, it might be sold out within 24 hours or a week or whatever.
Oh, wow.
That thing was still on sale 2 years after the game released. So yeah, that didn't work out for me. And I think the price went down too, but I don't quote me on that one. A different example: when I was a kid, we went to the Bahamas, and I wanted a keepsake. So I asked one of the vendors if I could trade a U.S. dollar for a Bahamian dollar. I was gonna leave soon, so and I think my father was behind me. I don't remember what kind of face he was making, but I imagine he was making a disappointed face or saying that's not a good deal. So yeah. But I do want to say.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do want to say congrats to everyone in chat who got a 5090 or 5080, because that's definitely FOMO.
That's definitely FOMO. Oh god, that's FOMO. I've heard rumors that the plan was to release it, sell them all out, and then produce what they have, and then spend a lot of time producing the 5070s and also more 5080s and 5090s, so that when the 5070s come out, they have a new wave of stuff that comes out, and then they have more available for everybody. So that people who are purchasing $6,000 cards are now going to be like, "Why? What?"
People are selling those on eBay for $7,000, $6,000.
It's not worth it. That's not worth it.
Can I add to my list though? Real quick. I got two things. One is buying Assassin's Creed's Black Flag, the premium edition. I'll never do that again. Never do that one again. Not the greatest game.
I guess this is also FOMO. I also, but I again, this is not my I don't really see it as a bad thing. I purchased the collector's editions of Halo 3, which has the helmet. Came in the helmet thing. I still have it. It's still in my bedroom. And I also purchased the collector's edition of Titanfall 2, which came with a wearable helmet. It came with patches. It came with all these sorts of things. I still have it. It's still on my shelf, that kind of thing. So, like,
for me, I typically only buy 3 or 4 games a year.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
because for one thing, I play one-handed, and the games that I'm really interested in not that many. So typically, when I do buy a game, I do go for the Ultimate or Collector's Edition.
Yeah. Now my second thing is, excuse me. This one hurts very dear to my heart. Very
Anthem.
dear. Yeah, you're correct. If anybody is suffering from any
I bought Anthem.
shockwaves or shell shock
I bought
of
Anthem. I know what you're talking about.
listen, we can talk about it.
Oh, I mean, there's plenty of games I
Yeah.
purchased. There was
Yeah.
one called The Mandate. It was a kickstarted game that was supposed to be it was like sort of like an isometric style game that had boarding
Right.
of other ships, but you could fly around in your ship and fight. And it was sort of this sort of RPG mechanic where you had to work with one of these different groups. It was very interesting. They showed off a bunch of different gameplay footage of it. And I kickstarted it, and it became a card game.
Ooh, that hurts.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ow.
That wasn't really a FOMO as much as it
My
was
sim-
like
my-
I wanted to help out the
my
game.
sympathy
Is that
because
a
it was
bait and
cool.
switch though?
They
Is that a
failed.
bait and switch?
They failed. Basically, they ran out of money. And
Is
then
that
they,
I don't know. I was just trying to figure out.
and then they
is that-
sold it to somebody else who turned it into a card game.
Oh, damn.
Wow,
Yeah.
Wow.
My sympathies.
Yeah.
that hurts. Well, I feel bad for Chronicles of Illyria's players.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's a whole.
That's the game I'm trying to think of. 'Cause
God.
that's the one that Gio always complains about.
Oh, my God.
Well, I'll
I
say like
dodged that bullet.
I don't think those are necessarily FOMO as much as they are. They're like just
Bad purchases.
bad purchases.
Yeah.
Bad bets.
Bad bet. That's a good one.
Um,
I mean, and there's a chance Star Citizen could be a bad bet. We don't know yet.
100%. All right. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, FOMO is usually for consistent goods like GPUs, concert tickets, etc. Is it FOMO for ships that we, as a community, know the meta or the numbers change, i.e. the F8C? That's it. I think that also comes down to your personal preferences, your personal beliefs.
Objective.
Because like we know what FOMO is, and as we've said, like Star Citizen can fall under FOMO for some of those practices. But the question is more: is this a malicious attempt to utilize FOMO as a means of making money, or is this just a technicality? Is CIG explicitly riding on FOMO to make money, or is it just part of the overall tactics they use with including a bunch of other things? I couldn't tell you. I personally don't think they do. But yeah. What do you think, Griffin?
The question is what now again?
Yep.
I'm answering your question or what North End was saying. What are you saying?
North is asking, is it FOMO for ships that we as a community know the meta or the numbers change?
I mean, that's actually the part for me that I struggle with FOMO, because if you've been around any amount of time, in the back of your head, you know that there's not possibilities, the ships are going to change. And I'm not talking about just in respect to performance, but the ships there's so much about these ships that aren't even fleshed out. Elements of armor, shielding, things that they've talked about, things that they're testing. And we make these decisions as if they're written in concrete, not written in concrete, written in stone. And so that's why I struggle to call it FOMO. Sometimes I think it's you're making a decision with what little bit you have, and so much of it is based on visuals. Sometimes it's based a little bit on what's published, like in a brochure. But even then, every time we purchase something or buy something, it's that phrase at the end of the thing that says things can change with this. And so, and yet, even though we know that, we still, in our brains, formulate something about this particular thing that I'm purchasing that's going to be the greatest thing next to sliced bread. I struggle with it, with that being FOMO, because if it was a finished product, I would probably feel way more to say yes, but I have a hard time with that. I think we self-generate FOMO with some of these things that we buy personally. So
Awesome.
For me, it's like, yeah, I have to go with Griffin here. You've been around long enough, you know the ships are going to change. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the Paladin is a great example. It may not be the ship that, CIG has advertised now, or it may not be the ship that when it comes out after a couple of months, it probably changed because, CIG had data because it wasn't in the game before, so they haven't had a chance people to test it. And they said, oh, we have to make this change. Now, whether or not there's a nerf or probably will be a nerf, but, whether it's a nerf or a buff, we have to see. But at this point, you, I wouldn't buy a ship for it being the meta. I would buy a ship because
You want to do it?
it's the kind of ship or fits kind of role, or I just like the look of
Mm-hmm.
it. That's why I would buy a ship.
Daedalus brings out a good point. I forgot all about LTI being FOMO.
Yeah, yeah, they mentioned that before earlier, and I forgot. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Um,
and LTI is more self formal than because CID has consistently said LTI is not a big deal. And matter of fact, the last CitizenCon, they 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 laid out what LTI and the stuff would do because it's like basically
Mm-hmm.
tier one of the warranty.
I'm looking through because there was a question that I'm going to answer real quickly. Because this question is from Gin and Tonic, who asks, oh, good to this, who asks, people constantly reference the marketing team. Who is the marketing team? And are they professional marketers or just developers? Game developers have long believed that they can do anything except art. Um, or is it just game developers playing at marketing? I can tell you who exactly the marketing team is because the senior head of marketing is named Elliot Chin.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't some sort of leak. His face is on the website. If you go to cloudimperiumgames.com, he was a PR manager for Blizzard. He worked as a product manager and then director of marketing for Sega for 2 years, back in 2005, between 2005 and 2008. He founded his own company called Aopa Games in the San Francisco Bay Area for about 2 years. Ended up working for Leapfrog, the company that makes like education games, for several years, and then
Mm-hmm.
worked as VP of marketing for Arc Games in Perfect World Entertainment for a year. And he's been the marketing head of marketing, VP of marketing for I don't know, chief marketing officer.
Mm-hmm.
He was the GM of Star Citizen and the CMO, and then he was then chief marketing officer and VP, or he's hired as VP.
You
And
know what year they started for marketing?
2019, May
Yep.
of 2019.
So before that, Sandy Roberts or Sandy Gardner, but Sandy Roberts now
Yeah.
was VP of marketing for ages, like
Mhm.
from I want to say 2012 until maybe 2019. So there was some controversy with that. That kind of getting up just saying there was, but she did a good job because they made a lot of money.
Looking
Mm-hmm.
through some of these people, I can't quite see. Oh yeah. So, and then I can tell you another person. His name is James L. He is the director of growth at CIG LA. Or was. He no longer works there. He left in May of 2024.
In relation to Cal L,
Oh,
Mm.
This is
boy.
just
I'm here all week. You're
this is all
welcome.
from his
You're welcome.
LinkedIn stuff. Now I know that CIG was hiring specifically product managers, and for those of you who don't know who product managers are, they're your they take a look at your thing. They break it down what's important, and they develop marketing strategies. So they tell the basic marketing, base level people, this is how we're going to market the game based off of these stats and these sorts of things. You mentioned Sandy in the original reports, yeah. But yeah, so and Eliachin got an MBA in communications from UC Berkeley. Graduated from Hong Kong University before that. So, yeah. So, to give you an idea of who to point at, that's who it is. When you're saying marketing or anything, it's that person. And yeah, he does have some experiences in both video game marketing and marketing in general. So, I have not met him personally. I have been hoping to meet him at some point personally and talk with him, but he's been. I wouldn't be surprised if he's avoiding me because I have said some things about him which I still stand by that I think he makes a lot of mistakes on. But I think what Jim was trying to get at is basically like is this some sort of team that's professionals or doing what they're or is this sort of just people are winging it? And I think the advertisement team is winging it. The team that runs the advertisement, we know who they are because they've hung out in SEO before. They're very much more of the artistic side of things rather than necessarily the business side of things.
I'm going to push back on that one because they know things that we don't know, and they know
That's
things
true.
in advance, like months and weeks, maybe sometimes years in advance.
Yeah.
So they have to plan for that stuff, and otherwise they would be caught off guard. So I don't think they by the seat of their pants, as you or how you put it.
From my perspective, a typical activation for any product takes between 6 months to a year, and it requires a lot of time and prep. And there's a lot of things that CIG has done, like I'll just say the Nursa commercial, which should have been checked before it was released, that caused more confusion than it should have, and it wasn't. So it's clear that the Nursa commercial was either rushed out or nobody checked it, which isn't a sign of a good advertisement team that 100% gets everything right. You know,
Another example with the Guardian. I think they intended the Guardian to come out during IAE because they had that commercial, Space Wolf. And also, Luminalia only had 11 days this year, and I think the 12th day, if it was 12 days, one of those days would have been dedicated to the Guardian. So, I don't think that's marketing fault. I think that they expected it to be out by a certain point, but it wasn't because for some reason it fell behind.
No, I get that, but that's a situation where because it's unknown. Like there's so much unknowns in there. Like I can't imagine. I can imagine people coming to the marketing team or to the advertisement and be like, "Here's our next patch. It's releasing here." And then you go, "Okay, cool. I'll get everything prepped. I'll go sell. I'll go buy advertisement space from Google. We'll set up times. We'll get everything working." And then 2 weeks before you're supposed to go live, they go, "Gabe, it's been delayed. Been delayed," and you kind of go, what? What do you mean it's been delayed? I have everything scheduled out like this. Yeah, it's been delayed. We got to do that kind of thing. So, all right, let's move on to the next question. Smoothiers asks, he's not asking. He was responding to somebody else. David Stockton asks question: are the fuel intakes on the 100 series really going to be that beneficial if most of the travel we'll be doing is in quantum?
Yes, it's beneficial now.
What's that?
Oh, I'm a 100 series fan. I've flown that thing around and run around and don't even have to put fuel back in the tank. I mean, the hydrogen rather. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool feature that's in that little ship. One of the things that folks don't maybe know that ship does uniquely. But again, it's not built out yet. It's not balanced out yet. But I think it's a highlight feature of that ship that's actually in the marketing / propaganda of the 100 series.
Well, people also forget that your power plant's going to use hydrogen.
Yes.
So it's not just a feature for hydrogen; it's also your power source. So it means you don't have to spend as much hydrogen to keep your ship running. So.
Yep.
All right. There we go.
I knew Griffin was going to take that one. I was just like, sit back, let Griff handle it.
All right. Next question comes from Call Me Teach, who asks, rephrasing my previous question, What do you think the ratio of developers to marketing members are in the studio? Give me 2 seconds.
Ooh,
Ooh.
no idea.
We actually
idea.
have this answer.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Paul's probably got it. Yeah.
Look at Paul, such a professional streamer.
Okay, so
Mhm.
in 2022, CIG released its every year they have. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet for 2023 because it's overdue. I don't know why they haven't released it publicly, but they usually have to report it with the British government.
European.
Mhm.
Right.
So they have a headcount analysis. So in 2022, publishing, ops, community events, and marketing was all one group, and that was in the U.S. was 120, 125? Yeah, 125 people, and in the rest of the world it was 57. So they had about 100, and that's publishing, ops, community events, and marketing. So it's your community managers, your ops team that does publishing. So like a lot of those people are in Austin. So people like Wikipedia is part of that. So those folks are added into this. So keep that in mind. And there are 57 in the rest of the world. So it's a total of 80, something like 83, 84 people, 184 people. Whereas the developers, there were 527 in the rest of the world and 83 in the US. So you're looking at well over 600 people who were just developers.
But what are the other 700? Because they had like 1,500, don't they?
Well, this is from
Or no,
2022. This is from 2022 when they had 800 people. The other
Okay.
ones were generals and admin. So like for admin, they had about 60 people, 60, 70 people in admin. So it goes
Okay.
admin, publishing, ops, marketing, and stuff, and community, and then development. So it's still
So 1,100, that's probably 2023?
if they kept the same ratio, and I'm assuming they are, we're probably going to see the same kind of thing. They said headcount analysis by discipline, specifically. Oh, they actually have specifically here. Yeah, it's 182 for publishing ops, and then 610 for developers. So, and if you look at their past, if you look at because they actually also show all the way back to 2012, like their headcount, it's pretty consistent. Where over 60%, 70% of the development of the studio is just developers. So. So
Third, almost.
yeah. So 20% of the company at the time was marketing. That doesn't sound small. It's not just marketing. 160 or 182 people. That includes Wikipedia. It includes your Ahmeds, your Night Riders, your Xylos, your
Wait, I have a Night Rider?
Yes, you do. He bans you all the time. That includes those folks. That's in that head count. They don't separate that from those groups. So, and from my experience, that's basically most of Austin's studio. I would say 30 to 50% of Austin studio is just platform. So your CDaddies, the people who run the website to make sure that the sales run, that kind of stuff. So even with that in mind, probably about half of that is publishing. So you're probably still looking at 70, 80 marketing folks. On top of that, stretched across 4 studios at the time. That's not too badly. Yes, customer support staff are also lumped into that as well. So everybody who would be concierge and stuff like that. It would be interesting to find out what percentage of developers work in each department: tech, missions, planets, arts, and teams. It flitters too much. There's too much. They go between each other a lot. Like there are people who work in one department and move to the other departments and they work together. And yeah.
And
Anyways.
they switch titles at the drop of a hat. So you might be you might have one title doing the same job. So yeah.
And another good example of this, ISC is also part of that crew. And the people who make ISC, we know there's like 6 people who make ISC, 6 or 7 people who are part of that team. And they also make the trailers. So those would also be marketing, because it is marketing, but it's also ISC, which is also marketing, but also not,
Does
CIG.
that include people who make the animation for the trailers?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it'd be more than that. Okay, never mind.
And there are some of those people who also work in dev, because some of those people are also cinematics teams for Squadron 42 and stuff like that. So, all right. Question to the panel. The Star Citizen audience can be very protective of the game. Does/has audience capture every affected your ability to give your unfettered opinion on Star Citizen and CIG? Basically, have we changed our opinions in fear that we might get attacked for our opinions? I'll answer if you
for
want to.
me.
Oh, well, I was just waiting for somebody else to answer.
My
No.
answer's no.
No. Why?
I don't worry about too much of whatever. I mean, I'm conscious of what I say. Like if I come on your show, I'm conscious of what I say, but do I hold back or water down opinions? No, because there's enough room for everyone to have different opinions for something like this. This is a very unique gaming experience. A lot of us have never gone through something like this before, and there are a lot of both thoughts and emotions tied to people who push through this project. So, they're not going to agree with everybody. Everybody's not going to agree on whether CIG is doing the right thing. A lot of this we won't find out until the end, whether the ends justify the means. And even then, even if the game is successful, there are going to be people who are going to be critics of what they've done. If the game fails, there are going to be people who are going to say it's the greatest thing next to sliced bread. So there's a lot of room for people to feel a certain way. So I don't really worry about. I don't try to offend anybody, but I don't curtail things when it comes to the conversation about this.
I'm going to go the other direction. I'm going to say, have you met me? Do I seem like a person who care how people react to my jokes and other stuff that I say?
That's correct.
I do care a little bit. I
think
you don't.
I think there's.
Yes, he does. No, Fast Card is way less about controversy than I am.
Yeah.
He's more easygoing with things a little bit more than I am.
Oh, he's more easygoing, but he doesn't care still what you think about it.
Well, put it this way: I am cognizant of how I say stuff, and because I do like putting stuff pen and paper before I actually say it. Because I'm like, do I want to say it this way or do I want to say it that way? So that way, I am cognizant. But once I'm set. Okay. Good luck.
I agree with you on that, though.
I will say I have opinions on the game, and I have found information on the game. I've had members of CIG reach out and tell me information about the game that I shouldn't know, that I do know, and about the company that I don't share. And that's not because I'm afraid of the audience's reaction or anything like that. It's only because anybody who's worked in any organization large enough knows that one person's experience or what one person is saying or doing is not always reflective of the whole studio or of the whole company or the whole organization. So,
but Paul, I've seen these articles on Kotaku and other websites where they take the gospel of what this one developer says.
It's but it's not helpful. It's just not helpful to kind of share those type of information because for instance, I'll give you an example that I've never told anybody. I've had multiple people at CIG in some departments and multiple departments in multiple studios who say the same thing, which is HR is wonderful until they're not, and then they're awful, and they will do some stupid shit to people and get away with it every time. And if I said something like that, people might be up in arms, and then I'd have to remind people. It's HR. Have you ever met an HR that wasn't a piece of shit? At least most of the time, if not some of the times.
Oh, duck quick. You got a dot on your forehead.
It's like, does that actually help you understand CIG better? No, because it's a universal experience of human resources. That's how they work. And so it's like it doesn't give us more of an insight as a studio. And I often think about that as well. Like I'm going to say something of my opinion or say something about it. I have to think about it. Does this actually matter?
Is HR like equivalent to like internal affairs?
Yeah, basically.
That's pretty
Only
much.
with internal affairs, they're like very honest and upfront that they're there to bust you for something. HR is will buy you a pizza.
More subtle.
And they want you to be their friend and say, come to us with all of your problems and complaints. We want to work it out. And what they're doing is writing down who's complaining so they can fire them later. You know, that kind of thing. That's not CIG thing. That's just my experience with how HR works. They're there to help. They're there to protect the company. But you know, it's the same kind of situation. Like, I'm not going to change my opinion unless I see something that I think is important to change my opinion. If I have new evidence that comes out, I'll change my opinion on something. But I'm not going to always share everything I have about the game or what I believe about the game because I don't know if it's relevant to people's experiences or to even my experience. So yeah. Fist, have you ever changed your opinion based off of the what could happen to the audience reprisal?
No.
Yes, we have. You changed your opinion based on how I would react. You did that. You did that all the time.
Stop lying. Why are you lying? No, I don't know. I don't do that. I mean, because I guess for me, I have my opinion of the game, and if it comes out, it comes out. If it don't, it don't. I mean, I've kind of have my set understanding that I'm at peace with where the game may come, where the game may go. You know, the game is not written in stone right now, so I'm at peace with that. Just as much as how much money I've spent in the game, I'm at peace with it.
Is it written
It
in
don't
silicon?
come out, huh?
Is it
What'd you
written
say?
in silicon?
Can we move on to the next question?
All right, next question. Pops in Space asks, is there FOMO of missing out on FPS caused by Star Citizen's cinematography?
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't know what
I
that
don't know
means.
about FPS.
See, I'm not an FPS person, so I'm a bad person to ask for that one.
FPS pops.
Is Pops
I mean,
asking like, is cinematography are they doing? They're making the game look better than it is in terms of FPS.
you know what? Well,
I
I would have to say, okay, then if Bob is talking about, if I'm understanding my dad, what he's saying. By the way, that's my dad,
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah, but I would have to say from the way they've advertised FPS in their advertisements, right? Obviously, it looks smooth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you get that same experience in the game? So, does it create FOMO as far as to buying something? I don't see people going out buying a gun though. Really, like I gotta have this gun, to do FPS. I mean, really.
Yeah, all the armor and guns and equipment that I buy for the looks. Like it's red. I got the red armor set. That was not from this year, but previous year. That's just me though. I'm not an FPS person.
I do think
Yeah.
I think it comes back to the same point I was making earlier, that video games or any product is going to advertise to you what they think you want from it or what they think that they want to give you from it, rather than what it actually is 100%. Because some things you can't advertise very well. Like, how do you advertise condoms? Not an easy product to advertise, considering all the limitations on what it is. So Trojan has to get.
I have an answer for that, but I'm going to try to respect the truth in terms of service.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, so you have to get creative, and if you've ever seen a Trojan ad, they get kind of weird with their metaphors and what they're showing off. And video games are the same way. Like, how do you market? Like, a good example of this one is, how do you market a game like Doki Doki Literature Club? If nobody knows what that is, you probably think it's something that it isn't. If you know what it is, there's a twist to it. And that's the whole point of the game, is the twist. You know, how do you
Okay, Doki Doki. I figured that out. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Okay. So I think my dad is trying to clarify it. He's saying that, is there FOMO on FPS because Star Citizen's visuals are so much better
than
in
the actual game.
I guess
Yeah, that's
than
what
the
I'm
actual
and
game.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. It's like,
Okay.
I don't think CIG is using FOMO marketing with that, because again, they're trying to capture what the game is trying to be and the experience they're trying to look at. I think if we were to see anything, I think CIG would probably do better to do a gameplay trailer and a cinematic trailer, because that's how people in games understand games.
Yeah.
They understand what a cinematic is different from a gameplay, even though
Right.
everything that CIG does is captured in engine. It's captured in game and or in engine, but it's just captured on their side and a very specific things. But as I said,
Server that's just running on all cylinders at the top FPS
Yeah.
that we don't so desperately desire to get. But I get what you're saying.
yeah, it's so. But it's
I
like,
still wish we had Seder Ball, but I know
Yeah.
we're not going to get Seder Ball.
it's pre-animated. It's not pre-animated.
I don't think it's pre-animated.
No.
I think it's scripted.
It can be.
There's
Yeah.
a difference between because in Unreal, I watched this demonstration, and this is one of the things in working in Unreal, you have a such thing called a take recorder.
Mhm.
You have to script out what you're doing. I can play the game and it'll record what I'm doing in Unreal, but you have to script out. So it's still within the game. It's not animated, because animated now says, okay, I'm going into Maya, and then now I've got to basically take this walk cycle. He's walking over here, he's doing this.
It's a lot
different.
harder to do animated than it
Yes.
is to do scripted. Scripted, you take the pre-canned animations you already have, you take triggers that already work, and then you run it through a trigger and make certain things happen.
I love how he moved on after saying it's much harder, because he knew I was coming. He knew I was going to get in there. But yeah,
Of course, it's
job.
pre-animated. The
Good
ads are
job.
captured in engine, but you set up the animation in every way. You can also animate in engine. They're not animating these things in engine. That's far more than they
No.
are. No.
They have people that just they're players. They're logging into the server just like us. They're players.
Mhm.
Like, and they're players, and basically what they're doing is they're saying, okay, this is the script. X is going to come down here. This one's going to come down this way. You're going to fire at this way. Blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. You're still playing the game through the game and the engine.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
And they
You're
might
just
have
not
NPCs are
Right,
are
exactly.
specifically told to do this. Like you get a NPC and you say move this way, but it's the same technology they use for the game.
yes.
It's just
The ads, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
all of the ads.
Yes, the ads. Yes, all ads. 'Cause
Uh,
I can tell, because reason why I can tell is from watching a lot of differences between the way they do their gameplay versus like somebody who's done it, who's an animator, and you
Mhm.
can look at it and you can tell from all you have to do is basically go watch Prime's Secret Level.
yes.
Mm.
Watch Squadron
That's a good
42
show.
cinematics. Watch the Squadron 42
Watch-
cinematics, and then watch
There you go.
gameplay ad. The cinematics would be animated team, would be the cinematics team. If they're not the same. It's just that the technologies they have now are they're much better than they have been in the past. So to somebody that has not tried to look through some of these things, it's like, this is all animated. It's like, no, they already have these animations. They're just running the animations through. And they may do some sort of like emote, or they may have some other things that have done. But yeah. So for instance, the ad for the Eclipse, how do they make the person push the button?
Okay,
and select
that's
the eclipse? Yeah.
that might be a little bit yeah.
Yeah. But that's not what we're talking about. What you're talking about is the ship advertisements. What you were referring to, as far as I understand, was the like play now, playable now, flyable now commercials, because those aren't the same commercials. They don't run
Right, yeah.
ship ads as ads for Star Citizen. They just have those on the website.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the 3 point or the 4.0 trailer, like the return to or welcome to Pyro or coming to Pyro. That's not animated. That's gameplay and mixed in with, scripts and stuff like that. No, they can record in-engine clips with dev tools as well as running a local server, etc. It's one of the reasons why we don't actually see a lot of the gameplay, like the ship trailers anymore, is because the team that was working on the ship trailers are working on the cinematics for Squadron 42. All right, let's move on for that. All right, next question comes from Gin and Tonic, who asks, "What objectionable marketing practices does CIG employ that aren't common across the entire late-stage capitalist landscape?"
Have an open development for a game that they advertise is playable now when the actual patch, like 3.18, is buggy as hell. I think that's pretty much a Star Citizen thing. But more seriously, a lot of people complain about the Legatus pack, but for people who don't know what the Legatus pack is, a $42,000 pack that has all the ships in it. But the thing about the Legatus pack is that the players wanted it, and CIG provided it for people who have
Really?
and just want to consolidate all their ships into one thing. So the
I
only
had
reason
no
why the
idea.
Legatus pack is there is because the players wanted it.
See, you know what? If
But
I'd
that's the
have
Michigan.
known that,
That's the
I'd have
Michigan
never.
section.
You know what? I would have never have thought Star Citizen was a scam. I'll be honest with you. I did not know that the players wanted that.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the whole
It
thing.
was
yeah.
it was like effectively if somebody who was purchasing every ship and they were like,
Mhm.
"Can I just get a
Right.
package that hits
Okay.
all of them? I'll pay more
Right.
money for it. I just don't want to have to buy every
I
single
had
ship
no
and
idea.
look at all
Wow.
of it."
Yep.
So
But people outside the community won't know that. They'll see it
I
as
didn't.
yeah,
I'm one of them,
FOMO.
and I will tell you
Right.
that because I remember watching a video and a guy was talking about it. It was like, "There's a $20,000 package in this game," and I bought it. I'll be honest, I bought into it. I was like, "Oh my god, yeah, wait," you know.
And that's one of the
Mhm.
reasons why it's gated behind a certain dollar amount that you have to have in
Right.
your account. And because
Correct.
they used to display all the packs and packages.
we lost our
And
shit.
people would
Yeah,
scroll down and see that $27,000 pack and like, whoa, what's going on here?
It was literally one of the
I'm
first
gonna
things.
avoid this.
And we
Mhm.
the community actively was like, told them no, stop doing this. And so they listened and actually gated it off to Legatus or to Concierge only.
Mm.
So,
But no,
Other
but
than
see,
that, I
that
can't think of
didn't stop
anything.
it though, because I'm going to tell you the reason why. Because there was video, and there was a specific video that unfortunately poisoned my mind.
that was
That they said
that's changed
because
since you.
right, so they changed it where because they changed it in the video. He specifically said, "Here's the package, but you got to spend $1,000 in order to see the package."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? You got to do what? You got to do what? Do what? Do what? Do what? Oh my God, this game is really..." Until, like I said again,
Yeah. No,
I learned what the game was.
I'm of the opinion that the most of the drama around Star Citizen has created more people to buy the game than it has turned people against the game.
I think so.
It has. It's CIG has consistently proven the old adage: as long as all advertising is good or all press is good press, as long as you get the name right. Because every single time a big name person would come out and do a story on Star Citizen, CIG's funding just shoots up.
Mhm.
Because what happens,
Right. There's no such thing as bad press.
what they're doing is you're getting eyes on this game. And so, yeah, some people are going to say this is a scam, but enough people are either going to be, this is going to be the 6th time they've heard about it, or they're interested in the concept and they look into it and they start researching it and go, fuck, I want to play this game. And then they buy the game.
I think there's a point where there's a tipping point where it used to be bad for them until it became good. I don't know when that happened.
When CIG stopped responding. Because remember when Chris Roberts used to threaten to sue like
Mhm.
journalists for what they did, and people said this is stupid. You're creating the Streisand effect, and he just stopped doing it. So yeah. All right, let's move
That might
on.
have been that might have been before my time. But go ahead.
It was a complicated one. It goes into the like the advertise or the marketing, not even marketing advertisement, the reporting, because we're talking about marketing advertising in my brain, the reporting of who Sandy actually was. Because for the longest time, no one, she was using her stage name, Sandy Gardner, rather than her legal name, Sandy Roberts. And so nobody knew that she was the wife of Chris Roberts. And everyone, it came out that she was, and it was like, she got this because of like,
I know what you mean.
Whatever, nepotism and all kind of stuff.
Nepotism, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people, myself included, were like, well, we don't care. Like, it was a small company with five people in a shoebox in a basement in Austin. Like, you get with who you have. Like, if your wife is willing to be your marketing director, you let her do it.
but Paul, they have fun on that yacht that they can afford because all the movies that Chris Roberts was producing.
Yeah. Again, that goes into the whole like I stopped talking about that stuff because what does this have to do with the development of the game at all? But all right, next question.
Paul, the reality is there were a lot of broken-hearted guys that used to hoot and howl at the different games event whenever Sandy came out. That's what happened. They felt that, what? She's married? Oh, shoot.
Has 2 kids with Chris?
Yeah. Great.
Oh, so y'all can just imagine somebody in their little closet got a shrine up to her and just knocking everything down when they see that.
Go back and watch the early videos when they would go like to Gamescom and stuff like that, and look at how people would respond when she would come out on stage. You'll see what I'm talking about. Those were around back then.
I'm tempted to say DS, but that's all I'll say for that. That's all I'll say. I'll leave it at that.
So this is a longer one from Iris, who says, is there a value in tightly defining FOMO versus examining what emotions are at play and how various tactics evoke emotions it plays on? It feels like responses define the tactics out of consideration when the real argument is about the effect and how it feels bad. Clarify, I'm a chemist. People complain about chemicals in their thing. I can choose to address the use of chemicals, literally all the things of atoms, or I can address their often valid concerns. Is there a value in spending a lot of time and effort, or any, defining FOMO rather than addressing, perhaps acknowledging that some of the marketing tactics used end up being a bit shady or feel bad? I think the problem is people making mountains out of molehills. Because if you don't address people's concerns, then they'll just keep making it. But if you do address people's concerns, they'll just move the goalposts. And I think, as we've all sort of said, yes, CIG participates in FOMO marketing. Yes. But not in a way that feels malicious. But there are things that they've done wrong. Fastcar Pop does the feels bad of, when they change something right before they sell something else that's going to be replacing it, or Fist talking about the Aries. I talked about like the whole limited sales thing makes no sense to me because it discourages people from buying the game when they want to fucking buy the game, when they want to buy the thing they have, when they have the money for it.
Right. Yeah.
So CIG is not above criticism, or their practice is above criticism. But
the thing that
go ahead.
The thing that gets me is that every year, massively OP, I don't know if you're familiar with them, every year they top their end of the year chart for being the worst business practice. I mean, but the thing is, I'm not sure how they're defining worse because they're making so much money.
They're defining worse in terms of
business model. Yeah, business model.
Business model, yeah, business model.
The reason why they do is because they feel like CIG is taking advantage of gullible people who are trusting CIG and that it's never going to come out.
But and then I argue that mobile games are tons worse.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So my thing with that is that, let me ask y'all a question, because if Star Citizen succeeds, both games, Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, universe.
Mhm.
Does that change the landscape of games? And are games that are out there today, are they scared because now they got to do
That's
work?
that's that's one of the conspiracy theories is that the reason why Star Citizen and CID get so much negative press is because people like Activision or EA are afraid of what may happen if they turn out to be successful. Who knows if that's true?
Yeah.
It depends on who you ask, but yeah.
I think there's definitely a kernel of truth, especially with like games journalism. The reason why games journalism always goes so
Mhm.
hard on CIG is because they don't have, because they can't go hard on EA or Activision. So if Blizzard gets into some serious trouble, games journalists know that unless it's like absolutely abominable, like the stuff they got charged with like rape allegations and all these other things,
Right. I remember all of that. Right.
they're not going to report on it negatively because guess who pays their bills? Blizzard. Because
Yeah.
Right.
Blizzard
Exactly.
advertises on their websites, and that's how they get money. And they often have to have good relationships with these companies to get early access to these companies. So they have to walk a tightrope. CIG doesn't pay anybody those sorts of money. So if they see something that, you know, Ubisoft is guilty of doing, they will, in my opinion, based off of what I've seen, I feel like they turn a spotlight on CIG to specifically target CIG for doing something similar because they said like a Valve release as a ways of being like,
Hmm.
I'm mad at the industry and these are easy people to target. And I also I don't think, you know, the big players are targeting CIG because they're afraid of Star Citizen. But I do think that what CIG is doing is proving a lot of old adages wrong about games.
Because
Because
it you know what it reminds me of though, Paul, real quick, is that when I got into audio
Mhm.
and there was a big fuss on going from analog
To
to
digital.
digital.
Mm.
Jesus Christ. I mean, you had your old heads, and I get it. Analog has its place. It is a um significant sound to it. I mean, all your old classic records were made upon it, tape and all of that stuff. But digital has come so far in terms of emulation of those old things. I'm not saying that they're one to one.
Mhm.
That's not what I'm saying. But it's just I've heard this story, this whole big fuss of analog versus digital, the old guys versus the new, and I see that where, I kind of equate that to the same thing where here's CIG coming in, changing the game. And I'm seeing that same fuss where it's like maybe I could be wrong where I'm seeing that same fuss. It's like, man, are these older games like EA that are set in their ways? Because this is the same thing. Like I ranted a while back about Avid because Avid got complacent in a way they thought because when they thought industry standard, this is Pro Tools. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if you go on YouTube and you'll look at it, it's a guy named Barry Johns, and he talked about him for a long time. Like, y'all better get your act together because you got all of these companies that are out here that are doing bigger and better things. Don't get complacent and think industry standard means you've got things on lock,
Yeah,
and I think that's where I'm kind of seeing that resentment from where I see those articles. And that's where I was like,
I could
is
definitely,
this kind of like same thing?
I can see that. I mean, I know we have lots of Elite Dangerous people who watch me and Eve people who watch me. And Griffin, you used to do Eve, so you kind of know this. I 100% believe there is definitely groups of people out there who want to see CIG and Star Citizen fail because they're threatened by its existence. Um, I mean, Elite's been eating good recently. The Frontier team is finally back.
Yep.
Okay.
They're finally back to doing some Elite stuff, and it shows that they're back there and they're doing some stuff.
Mhm.
They're doing lots of good stuff now, which is great. But I remember before Odyssey and just after Odyssey, there was this huge sort of like depression amongst the Elite community because it's like they felt like they were abandoned. You know, they had all this hype and then it just exploded. And I think some of that bitterness can still be there, because if you're somebody who's a hardcore Elite fan and you see a friend or content creator start streaming Star Citizen, or start playing Star Citizen, you might get mad that they're leaving your game. They're betraying your game. And I saw similar sort of mentalities with Eve, and I've seen the same thing with Star Citizen fans in reverse. Like a Star Citizen player starts, or streamer starts streaming Elite, there are players who can get pretty vicious about the whole thing. But yeah, it's there's definitely weird. Star Citizen has a weird experience, because I don't think I've ever been in a game where large sections of the gaming industry and the gaming community are rooting for it to fail. It's an interesting thing.
That's true.
I have one example. Line of Defense.
People were laughing.
People
at Line
rooted
of
for that one to
Defense.
fail.
They weren't. People were like enjoying the downfall of it. And there are things like the latest Assassin's Creed game. I know people are just lining up to see, like, I can't wait for this thing to fail. But like, you don't have people actively seeking to just sort of like find one disgruntled developer so that they can claim that Ubisoft is like the worst company in the universe. So
that's true. Yeah, I give you that. I give you that.
And I think that's also where this discussion of FOMO can come in, because often you'll see people coming in with the desire, they want to see Star Citizen fail, they want to do everything they can, so they'll throw everything they can at it, and unironically use that while also defending similar practices in other games. So that's why it's kind of do this. Yeah, I did used to stream Elite. I don't stream it anymore, but I might get back into it now that they have all of the new stuff coming out. All right, let's see. Last question from Commander Alice Aurora, who asks, are people really spending more than what is essentially disposable hobby income due to FOMO? Example, taking out loans, or is most of the big spenders is it just most of the big spenders are more vocal in the community? I don't think I've heard many people taking out loans to buy starships and Star Citizen.
I mean, if you're doing that, then we need to talk and have you sit down.
No,
And
not you. You need to find a professional help.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We need to sit you down and have a talk. And say,
intervention. That's what you meant. Okay.
There were some people who lost their like marriages over Star Citizen.
Yeah.
There's a couple of like big names that's happened. I would say like less than 10 of people who've come out like that. But like, I don't know if CIG. We're talking like early project CIG before any of this stuff.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
So I don't think we're really seeing FOMO destroying households, that sort of thing.
Right. That's.
But there are people who have buyer's remorse.
Yes.
There are people who, they thought that the game was going to be one thing, and they're seeing it kind of finally evolve into something that maybe they didn't expect, or maybe they didn't know, or maybe they based their purchasing decision based on the state of the game at that time. So I think there are some people who may be feeling like, man, it looks like this is not what I thought it was going to be, or and then there are people who probably feel now, especially after, so much variety of stuff that's out there that people have bought, that they are like, man, we heard people talk about how they downsized their fleets, right?
Mm-hmm.
They pulled back, because as they're starting to see how the game is forming, they're realizing I don't need to have all this, or if I do have all this, it's going to take away from gameplay. So I think there's a mixture of feelings that people have. Some people are very satisfied. Like Fastcard and I've had this conversation about how, with the amount of money we put into the game right now, do we feel that we've gotten our money's worth? There's a part of me that feels like I've gotten my money's worth from what I've put into this game. If I average out, I've been here since 2013, 2014, something like that. If I add out that amount of time and I say, with the gameplay, the people I've met, the experiences I've had, the travel, has that money that I've put in equaled that? I would say for me, Yes. That's right now. I feel like, okay, I've gotten something out of this, even for the amount of money that I've spent. There are other people who feel like, no way have I gotten my money back out of all this stuff. And some people, it's going to not until we get the end product that they'll finally feel like they got their value for what they've spent, whether that's $25 or $2,500. So I can understand people who might feel any of those ways, but for me, there's a lot more involved. I've gotten to do stuff like this and meet people like Paul in person and relationships. I mean, there's all those other things that get added into that beyond the game itself, But for some people, they don't have those experiences. All they have is the game, right? And so I can see why they would feel a certain kind of way too.
To Griffin's point, talk about buyers remorse. I'm not trying to trigger you, Griffin, so be aware. Solo players, you talk about downsizing fleet, an example of solo players buying this big ship and then realizing, oh, I'm not going to be able to utilize this ship as well as I thought I would be able to. So I should probably melt it down and get something smaller. So yeah, FOMO can play, especially one night. There was a point in time when I had the Odyssey, and that was before all the Current Killer thing came out. Because I was like, oh, it could refine and it can refuel and it can explore. It does 3 things that I would love to be able to do. But then it turned out the Q&A came out, and it turned out it can only refuel itself, or you can't take out the fuel and put it in other steps. It's not a refueler. So I'm like, okay, I jumped the gun on that one, but yeah.
I don't. If we're talking about sort of like like what do you get out of it? I wouldn't be streaming. I wouldn't be making content if it wasn't for Star Citizen. Hell, I've started writing again, and I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for Star Citizen. So like I've met Fist, I've met Griffin, I've met Fastcart in person. I've met tons of other people. I've managed to somehow people have talked to me about how my videos, like my Captain's Table videos or my lore videos, have literally saved their lives. I don't know how serious it is, but they've talked about like how like they were in depressive spiral, and these are the things that got them out of depressive spirals, and this community helped pull them out because they could focus on something else other than say pain and suffering. Or so like I've seen this community and this game do some amazing things for your average person as well. This isn't just a big fluff piece about how this is the greatest gaming community in gaming, because we got our own problems and everything else like that. But
Yeah, one of the problems is a guy named Fastcart FC, but yeah, we don't talk about that much. I do have a quick question for you, Paul.
Yeah.
In my introduction, you would I don't know what made you decide to take a drink while I was doing my introduction, because you knew I was going to say something, and you almost did a spit take. I don't know how close you were. Like that. What made you decide to take a drink?
Because I knew who you were. The second you said Django Unchained, I was like, I'm going to be Leonardo DiCaprio. So I was. What does Leo do in Django Unchained? He's famous for is walking around with a drink and speaking faux French and everything. So.
Okay. All right. Just making sure. Just wondering.
Yeah. What do you think, Fist? I was going to say the actual questions. I don't think you've got to answer it. The whole basically. I'll read the whole question again. Are people really spending more than what is essentially disposable hobby income due to FOMO specifically?
I don't think so. I mean, because if you are, then you really shouldn't be here. I'm going to be honest with you. You need to really think about life and think about priorities. I mean, because if you're spending money outside of what you can spend, yeah, you gotta work on some personal issues there. Then, because like I said, I've spent a lot of money just on my account personally alone. As far as my fleet is concerned. Let's say hypothetically the game doesn't come out. Am I gonna be mad? Am I gonna want my money back? I'm content with the point of fact that money could be gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? because I have said to myself, I know what I put into the game and expecting hopefully the game will come out. But again, being able to meet all of you guys and what I've gotten out of it and being able to do things, it has inspired me as well to like I said earlier, doing cinematics and diving into Unreal and being able to really do things with my dad and really grow my relationship with him and being able to do things with that really is what's valuable. Because if I'm just playing Star Citizen by myself, what's that? That's a single player game. And I mean, to me,
That's Squadron 42.
pretty much, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, here's a fast card mind trick. You should rethink your life.
All right. But I think that's a good way of ending it. My brain is starting to get fried as it is because it's been cold here in Texas, and it's finally it's now starting to get like somewhat warmer. So having a computer on in a room.
Oh, when you say cold in Texas, what is the
How
temperature?
cold? What's the temperature?
Okay, so it has been below freezing last week for the entire week. Not this last week, the week before last.
I'll give you that. All right,
Okay,
I'll give you that.
And we had snow, like the day after MLK Day. So
And y'all are not prepared.
we are
down
not
there
prepared for
stuff
that.
like that.
So it's been
Y'all aren't.
it's been like the highs have been in like the 50s and sometimes in the 60s, but then the lows are in like the 30s. So
Ooh.
so yeah, like it's been rough. Thick fog
What
caused
about
some
the
issues.
windshield?
What's that?
What about the windshield factor?
I don't know.
Wind chill.
The feels like I think it was colder than that because I live,
Ooh.
where I live is very windy and there's very windy areas around here. So
Okay.
So
okay.
it's-
I live in Boston. It's going to go down to 7 degrees tonight.
oof.
hmm
That's crazy. Yeah.
But like it's been getting slightly warmer. So now my room, because I have it on heat, I have the AC on heat. My room has one computer on, so now it's like 72 degrees, and so my computer's like with my computer on, I'm like, oh cool, I'm just gonna sit here in a 90-degree sauna in the middle of January or the first day of February. So as a result, my brain's been a little fried towards the last little half of this, if I make no sense. But I do want to thank Fist and Fastcart and Griffin for being here and hanging out and talking with us. Make sure you check out Soul Citizens on Thursdays and Sundays. Coming up with a big anniversary coming up.
Yeah, the
So-
big 5.
Big
Not the
five.
5-0, but the big 5. Not in March.
And make sure you check out Fastcart on it's still the People's Radio, right? As well as
The People's Radio, the third Friday of every week.
and
And again,
also
happy Black History Month.
yes, and check out New Soul on YouTube and Twitch to go check out some of those music. Are you gonna post any of those songs? You can, if you want to. You can always post the songs that you do for my for the Complete History of Star Citizen Lore series. Because for those you don't know,
You know what,
they
Paul?
do
I
that.
asked you. You know what? You know what I will do when I finish the lore history for this one? We will make an album out of it.
Ooh, okay.
Thank God.
There
So
we
what's
go.
going to be the
I
album
know
cover? That's what I want to
Griffin,
know.
Even when he been
What the-
strumming
what the album cover gonna be?
What's what?
The album cover.
Well, you
The
know
album
what?
cover?
If you do,
It's his. It's his. So it would be based upon the lore.
I'll try to get Haskaha to do an album cover or
There you
something
go.
like that.
Ooh, okay.
And at some point, we need to get Fist. We need to get New Soul and Wikipedia to do a
I will.
a combo.
We actually are.
Okay. All right. Is it
actually are.
Nick's?
Well, no. We actually I'm not gonna give too much, but it was me, obviously New Soul, me, my dad, Wikipedia, and Falero.
Nice.
Just looking to do something together.
So I'm
Hasn't
looking.
come out yet. Hasn't materialized yet. But thank you for reminding me. If you want to check out some of our music as well as other music content creators of the community, please check out damn it, let me make sure I got the name right. Lord have mercy.
And
Jump
Fist,
Point.
while you look,
Jump Point Collective.
Jump Point
Look
Collective.
it up on Jump Point Collective. Look us up on YouTube, and there's a couple of songs we put out there already. Some great guys in the community, great guys and girls, excuse me, that have been putting out some music on on there. And big shout out to Falero and the crew who put this community together and everything.
The fish face. When you do that collab, if you need a hype man, just let me know. I can put in a yeah boy in there for you, no problem.
I'll just put the link in chat, and I'll make sure it's in the description as well for those of you who want to check it out. It looks like you have Jonas Dinolf, Platinum
Correct.
Dragon, Fire
Yep.
Dragon, Virgil Gardu, yeah, and of course New Soul. Yeah, that's awesome. It's great. Yeah, and of course, if you did enjoy this and you want to ask your own questions live, come on, join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, and for now, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live on Saturdays starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Love to have you come down, ask your own questions, and join the conversation. And as always, make sure that you like the video if you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. Subscribe to us on Spotify if you want to listen to us on the go. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.
It's Black History Month, Paul.
All right, chat. We're gonna go raid somebody. I may break my rule and just raid expat because she's awesome. But what I want to do is raid somebody who is a smaller content creator or someone who's newer to Star Citizen. Maybe this is their first time playing. Let's see. We have Easy Skanka. It's his birthday. Happy birthday. He's got 11 people watching him. Go say hi to Easy Skanka. Go follow him for his birthday. Well, give him a happy birthday. And I want you, because they usually have these little, like a little do sound when it goes off. I want you to spam that. I want you to hit it until he has to turn it off because he's getting so much love. Later, y'all.